Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Well, I say welcome back as if we just departed, but we did not. It's been a week. So welcome to This Week in Wrestling. Again, your Week in Wrestling, whatever I'm calling this.
We should probably introduce ourselves because I realize we haven't been doing that.
I guess if you're new to this, this is me saying that everybody who watches just consistently watches, but I guess that's not how you grow an audience. Remember, Marvel Comics told me that a comic can be anyone's first comic.
It's true.
I guess we'll introduce ourselves. I'm Charlie Davis. I edit for Comics XF, the website, and I also, lead editor, person. I don't know. For Comics X Fight, this new little thing that we've been doing since maybe WrestleMania this year? Mm-hmm. Maybe a little bit before that. No, February. I think we started at Revolution. Yes, we started at Revolution.
We did. Yeah. Because I looked back to synergize the tags, and one of the first posts has Kenny's hastily drawn sketch, or I guess laboriously drawn sketch of the exploding barbed wire death match.
Yes. Bad job, Kenny. Mm-hmm. All around on that one.
Not his finest moment.
No. That's me.
And I am Mikey Z. I write for Comics XF, Comics X Fight, and I edit the videos, and my pronouns are he, him.
I'm Vishal Gulapali. Edit for Comics XF and some other places. I'm just here to hang out.
Yeah, Vishal's just vibing, as it were.
I'm here to hang out.
My cat has figured out how to open a drawer, climb up the drawer, and then get in onto the desk, which is exactly what he did when I looked away.
Oh, is that what
that is? He is now fishing for items in the drawer. Well, because he's a gremlin.
At least he didn't open the other one that has the earplugs.
That's true, I suppose. But anyway. Welcome.
Can't see my Halloween Gengar.
Oh, it is Halloween. Happy Halloween, everyone. It won't be Halloween by the time you listen or
it would be wild if it was Halloween when they listened to this.
Maybe we get stuck in a Groundhog Day where every day is Sunday.
I thought you were gonna say every day is Halloween, and I think that was a plot to a film.
It was.
So we'll just leave it at that. Anyway, the light is now red again. Why did you? No, change it back. But anyway, a lot has happened this week, but not quite as much as last week, where there was a lot of things happening. I will say that we're going to start off this week talking about the bad situation that's happened with Ring of Honor. Oh, Mikey,
sorry.
Are you done fidgeting?
You got it. Doing it live.
Yeah, so Ring of Honor had a lot going on this week, namely the basically dissolving of their promotion to be reconstituted into something else, of which we don't know what that is yet.
Well, it's supposedly indie only, right? Or like indie big dates, kind of like PWG does it, where they don't have any contracted wrestlers, which is unfortunate because they were one of the few non-WWE, non-AEW promotions that paid salary through the pandemic, even when they weren't hosting shows. And some of that they were able to do, like, I know some of their wrestlers on contract did like in-character blogs on their site or different other content. So they were able, but I think regardless of what people did or didn't do, they just paid everyone. So they were massively in a hole, but you know what? I feel like in the case where you are owned by Sinclair, the only ethical thing to do is just use Sinclair's money to get people paid. So, you know.
Yeah. Because I knew some people that just wouldn't watch Ring of Honor because of their being owned by Sinclair, which I really didn't even know about until it was explained to me.
I didn't either.
Ring of Honor is interesting because I've only ever really experienced Ring of Honor through like NJPW, so all their partnerships. Like I think almost all the Ring of Honor things I've ever watched, like that took place at Ring of Honor shows, were like Super Card of Honor, like things where everybody was kind of like at the show. But like another kind of nail in the coffin for ROH was their very tenuous relationship at the end there. I think maybe 2019 when like they just kind of like NJPW is like, no, we're not going to be an exclusive partner to you anymore.
Yeah. Well, and I think part of the reason why that relationship worked so well initially is because ROH kind of had the more like real sports feel, or like they were maybe before AEW the closest to strong style in the US. And I think post 2019, as you mentioned, Charlie, like very, very recently, they tried to kind of reestablish themselves with the ROH Pure tournament. Pure rules like being even more like real sports. I think there was like a scoring system involved or something like that, like within the matches themselves. Don't quote me on that. I don't know a whole lot. I just know of it. And then very, very recently, they started building a women's division around Trish Adora, which I believe we mentioned last week when we talked about ROH and how great their women's division was shaping up to be and how we were excited. And, well...
sad.
Yeah. How are you feeling about it all, Vishal?
So my general feeling on ROH is that it wasn't necessarily the NJPW dissolution wasn't like a nail in the coffin so much as it was a symptom of the nail in the coffin, which was continuing to take their top stars along with PWGs.
Yeah.
And PWG made it work because their entire model was, we don't really have any guarantees. We're just going to keep hosting shows. We're going to vacate our titles when we need to and keep doing what we do. And ROH at the time, for a while, they were the number one indie in the country. They were where you got Bryan Danielson and CM Punk. And to a degree, you could even catch like AJ Styles there for a little bit. And then eventually they started going to WWE, and they had kind of a renaissance with the Elite, with Adam Cole, with Cody Rhodes, with a bunch more people. And then those guys made it huge in NJPW because of that connection. And then Adam Cole went to NXT, and more Ring of Honor people went to NXT because NXT's sole purpose was to kill the indies in America. And so they were kind of on a downward trend. I know their Sinclair era was generally looked down upon just quality-wise. I didn't watch any of it personally. I tried to keep myself in the loop of what people were saying about it. And with the exception of, people like Gresham and Trish Adora, who are incredibly talented wrestlers, the show as a whole wasn't really stacking up to what it used to be. And then the pandemic happened. They stopped running shows, and AEW took up what market share ROH could have had if they were running shows. So it's reached a point now where I understand why they would dissolve it, because for 2 years almost, they've been hemorrhaging money with very little to show for it. And it's just really disappointing to see this happen to one of the most influential American non-WWE promotions. The show that could have been what AEW is now.
Yeah. And I think I've seen a lot of other people say the one reason that Sinclair did kind of allow them to exist as they did for so long is because Sinclair didn't really care as long as they were getting content. They were trying to build up a media library. So, in the weird media mindset and all of that, even the pandemic notwithstanding, all of that might have continued had Sinclair not had a massive, massive data breach recently. Which, I think ROH's future was dubious at best before that, due to them simply doing the right thing, not having like a great quality of show, but trying to do some new stuff to kind of build it back up. But then the Sinclair data breach happened, and at this point, they literally lost the tape of the show that they were going to air this past week on Sinclair affiliated networks. So they had to just re-air the Best of Jay Lethal, which is something that was like, I think what they were doing was limited studio shoots where they would shoot like a interview style segments with just one wrestler and then put the different matches together, because that's what was airing when Charlie and I moved here, and we have a Sinclair Fox affiliate. That was what they were airing on Sinclair Fox affiliate at midnight to 1 a.m.
At midnight to 1 a.m.
Which is the slot that they run ROH in all of their networks. That's not unique to here. That's just what they do.
A peak viewing hours of midnight to 1 a.m.
So what they were doing was they would interview the wrestlers and have them talk, and then put the, like, about the matches that were in the show, and then run the actual match. So they had Best of Jay Lethal, which we watched, and there were some pretty great matches in there, not gonna lie. But Jay Lethal, I would say the heyday of Jay Lethal was also around the time when the NJPW deal was happening. Because he was also, like, he wasn't contracted with NJPW, but he was one of the few black men that was wrestling in NJPW at the time. So it's a lot. It's kind of like a snowball effect thing, right? And it was like, just which weird thing is going to break the camel's back?
Yeah, like what? And it's always been, you know, what you said, Vishal, like get the people from ROH super hot, then they go to WWE. Like it was constantly like, get your talent super hot, super over, super like renowned, and then they go away. Like they didn't stay with ROH. And I mean, the Bucks had been with ROH for a really, really, really long time. I think they had like they did have a lot of loyalty there. Obviously whatever happened, but like, you know, the one thing I'll say about ROH, and it wasn't even really like something that I really understood until I started like kind of picking up on stuff from watching like a lot of BTE, is that ROH shows were really accessible to go to. Like you could, like, they toured everywhere. Like you could just go to it, like an ROH show like in your city at like whatever time they were coming.
Because they had them in like gymnasiums.
Yeah, and you could like see like big for the time wrestlers there. Like you could see an Adam Cole on a random ROH show in who knows where, Pennsylvania. Like,
yeah,
you
like
know,
a municipal sports complex.
Yeah, and that's like kind of crazy to think about. Like all these guys that are like on TV now were just like, you could go, like that day is over for a lot of those guys, but like you could go stand in a line for like 20 minutes and meet the Young Bucks and have like a 20-minute conversation with those guys. You can't do that now. Like, you know, so kind of just like how accessible ROH shows were and like made the wrestlers seem, and that in turn made them more buzzworthy because you're like, oh, I had this great conversation with so-and-so, like they were so nice, like they're a great wrestler, you know. It just snowballs after that. So I think that kind of thing is missing. Like there's a whole crop of new stars and new people that will be those people, but they won't have like a vehicle like ROH. Yeah. You know, maybe GCW is the new ROH, but we'll tell you most of the time GCW audience, like what that audience could or couldn't be, makes me really trepidatious to want to go to one of their shows. It could be fine, or it could be a bunch of rowdy people I don't want to be around, like throwing bottles in the ring. And that's not something I'm willing to like take a chance on. Like, oh, is it going to be okay this time? No, it's not.
Yeah. And kind of what I've heard with GCW especially around Mania weekend, it's a real Russian, or like one of their big mega shows, it's a real Russian roulette, because you get like the weird like Joe Rogan listening MMA diehards that might go to like a blood sport because they've heard about it. Not saying that's who the blood sport crowd is, but I could easily see the crossover happening there of like, yeah, this is like, I don't like that sissy wrestling, but I like the real rough stuff, right? And because they've seen like Mox go mano a mano with Davey Boy Jr. or whatever. And I'm sorry if I probably butchered his name.
Davey Boy Smith, yeah.
Davey Boy Smith, yeah.
Junior.
I missed a name. But the problem is, like, then you get those people being like, oh, there's another show on Sunday. Well, I'll go. Well, the show on Sunday is Effie's Gay Brunch with, you know, trans and non-binary, queer of all flavor talent. And then you get people like throwing slurs or something. Not saying that Effie or any of the organizers are responsible for that, but just like, you never know the vibe and you never know who's wandering in.
Yeah.
And I've talked to people that have said, like, I really love going to these shows and I would encourage people to go. But just so you know, there is kind of, it's a wild card in terms of what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Whereas ROH was pretty consistent in what you were going to get.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I will say, I think the one post NJPW ROH show that I've watched was I watched Danhausen's first match after he was signed with ROH.
Oh, yeah, we did catch that,
which was like a studio YouTube situation. Because at that point, you couldn't run shows. But that was the other thing is, like, the only benefit you'd get was a contract because Danhausen still did all of his work via Twitter. He had feuds that were solely via Twitter. And that's really how GCW keeps their storytelling going forward. So the only benefit is having a nominal, like, $30,000 a year, whatever contract, just to be like kind of like a basic income versus having to just hustle bookings to have a steady paycheck.
Yeah, it's sad. Vishal, do you have any thoughts about where you'd like some of the people who are no longer contracted to go?
Yeah, like, well, obviously my first choice is not WWE for any of them because we've reached, well, I don't think WWE even wants them. We've reached a point where none of the indie talent in the American indies is above 6 foot.
Yeah.
And the ones that are also just aren't WWE's flavor of above 6 foot. So just, I would like to see them all go elsewhere. I think there are a lot of really good places in other indies because there's an obvious like impulse to say, oh, they should go to AEW or whatever, but most of them shouldn't. I could see Gresham going.
Yeah.
He is a top star. He should go somewhere that treats him like that. But
so the
like
real
Danhausen also.
Yeah.
So the real interesting thing about Gresham that I only learned after kind of investigating a lot of this stuff is he was actually training. He was functioning as a trainer and kind of helping to cohere the women's division. So if he is if that's really his passion, I could see Gresham really being a benefit to AEW in multiple arenas, because what they need is they need more both trainers, at least for my perception, right? My outsider's perception. They need more trainers, but they also need more skilled trainers who are willing to help the women's division. Because obviously you don't want to get too many cooks spoiling the soup, but I think they need people that is their, like, other than wrestling, that's their sole focus, is to help the women's division.
Yeah.
And not just like, I know Dustin Rhodes is working a lot with like the future of the women's division, like people that are even greener than like Anna Jay, but that doesn't help the people that are on TV now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the only one that really stuck out to me because, like, that and Danhausen, because, like, everybody else left. Like, everybody else that, like...
Yeah, there's decent people still at ROH who are collecting those paychecks, but a lot of them did leave. A lot of them left before the pandemic. I'm not sure who left during the pandemic, but I don't think it was 0 people.
No.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, Gresham staying was a big boon to ROH when it existed, but as of now, what we know is that their new model is likely going to be similar to PWG's, where they run super cards that don't have any actual contracted talent. They will just run tapings and see who they can get and hope that none of the main people in their tapings get signed between tapings.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see. Like, the stuff is open, like, right? Like, everything outside of WWE seems to be pretty open with what's going on, who can go where, who can do what, and how.
Yeah.
So
my real hope more than anything is that the ROH archives of the last decade go to AEW.
Yeah.
Just because they have a lot of that talent that could use some highlights being shown of before they were at AEW.
Agree. There is in fact so much content.
Well, and they own All In, which was not technically an AEW show, but
no, ROH produced that show.
Yeah, ROH produced the show, but it is basically the genesis of AEW. So it would be a nice to have for AEW to own the rights to that. I will say,
from what I had seen,
go for it.
Sinclair is pricing those archives ridiculously high, which basically makes it sound like they are fishing for Tony Khan specifically to buy them.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, it's like, it's open to any bidder, but also the bidding starts at like this ridiculous amount of money that is not what
Watch like just some random guy just decides to buy the ROH.
That's what's
Joey
happen,
Janela's
right?
gonna buy it for GCW.
It's gonna be like that fucking guy that bought Taylor Swift's masters and a bunch of other masters in like a package deal and wouldn't sell them. Like Taylor Swift tried to buy her masters back. That's why she's re-recording all her music. But the problem is, even as difficult, emotionally as it was for an artist like Taylor Swift or some of these other artists that are re-recording those songs to do that, you can't re-record a wrestling match. You just can't.
Just run it back.
Yeah, and that is, some of that is kind of happening in AEW now, right? But some of the magic just can't be recaptured.
Yeah.
And that's the really unfortunate thing is, as much as I love wrestling being very in the moment, who owns the tapes is like a huge issue, because that's why we can't watch like Evolve, right? Like Charlie and I were watching the documentary Wrestlers that Vice produced back in 2019, and Ethan Page and Darby Allin, like their literal blood feud was first in Evolve. But you can't go watch that because WWE bought that promotion and then just sent all those tapes. Like they're in the WWE vault somewhere for sure, but you can't watch any of that because they sent it directly into a void space. So
they put it in the negative zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, other people of interest that shout out to me just looking at the ROH roster page, Bandito,
who
I know is already announced for 3 GCW shows. Brody King, who's been doing some really interesting work in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla with Malachi Black. Danhausen, like we mentioned. There's a couple other names, at least on the men's roster, and then the women's roster, like we said, Trish Adora, Max the Impaler, who also, in a very exciting to me personally note, came out as transmasculine, still uses they, them pronouns, but super excited for them. And, if they did decide that they want to compete in a men's division somewhere, thankfully they are 6 foot tall. So, sometimes things can happen.
Oh yeah, EC3.
EC3, the narrative.
EC3 was at ROH?
Yeah.
Jesus, I thought he was at Impact.
No. He's on their roster page at least, but one thing I've learned with the ROH roster page is they do play a little fast and loose with who's an alumni and who's not. So, take this with a grain of salt.
EC3 is the narrative coming to AEW near you.
I could see EC3 going to Impact. He has the build for it.
Yeah. I feel like the Canella, formerly known as the Canellises, now known as the Bennetts, are just, I would be surprised if I saw them in another big company, frankly.
Yeah, this is the second time. That sucks. This is the second time they've been like, 1, let go, and then 2, have everything just kind of dissolve around you. That
Roxy is someone that I could definitely, like, if somebody doesn't sign her, I'll be shocked. She is like 19, I believe, and is like one of the most, I didn't know about her before all of this. And then Fightful started writing about her and doing interviews, and I started looking her up. She trained at Booker T's school in Texas, and she is one of the top wrestling like up and comers of any gender. And she's 19. and apparently she's just incredible. She had their
Booker
women's
T
title.
school. Sammy came from there too.
Yeah, she has their women's title. So, Booker T, I might not like some of the weird things that he comments on AEW based on a tweet someone's seen him, even though he's never seen AEW product. But he can train wrestlers. I'll give him that.
Different skill set.
Yeah,
It's a different skill set.
But yeah, I think that's about all we have to say on ROH, really.
That's sad.
CB, who is formerly known as Cheeseburger, is a really great talent.
Yeah, it's sad. So, best wishes obviously to everybody that needs to find some place to work. But thankfully, they are all getting paid out their remainder of their contract. So
I think
through the end of the year.
Yeah, and then I think everyone that if you went through to March or past, then they'll be paid to March or something like that. So
yeah, they said if you want to work at other promotions, they'll make it happen, which they weren't doing before. So
yeah.
Yep. So let's see who gets to show up, because why not? Impact, and I do think this might be controversial to say, but I like the format of another promotion's wrestler comes to AEW, has a storyline in AEW, and then goes back to their own promotion, because I'm not a big fan of I'm on AEW TV, and then I'm on Impact TV, and then I'm on AEW TV, and then I'm on Impact TV, as far as the story is concerned.
Yeah, it didn't work out as well as I thought it would.
I love Kenny Omega so much. Do you think I watched Impact every week to see that man? Absolutely not.
I mean, we know that you didn't, because when I wasn't writing about it, because I was trying to keep up with it. I was trying my damnedest. When I wasn't writing about it, you'd be like, here's an Impact clip I saw going around. I guess things are happening. Yeah. And kind of leave it at that. So
yeah. So I'm personally not a fan of that. So if we could just put a hard stop for a while on anything like that, that's fine by me.
So one interesting thing I did note before we kind of close the book on ROH for this week. So obviously they're not going to be like on weekly programming on Sinclair. You want to know who is taking that spot? I'll let you hazard a guess, Vishal.
I don't think I want to know, Mikey.
Women of Wrestling, led
I did not want to know.
by none other than Tessa Nuclear Blanchard.
Yeah, that's the tweet I saw, which was ROH died so Tessa Blanchard could live.
It is unfortunate for multiple
really is
reasons.
Telling that AEW's got Tessa's dad running around doing whatever he wants, but they won't sign her.
It sure is.
Yeah. Well, and so the most interesting thing that might not be apparent, you probably know this, Vishal, but I'll say it just for the benefit of our listeners / watchers. So they actually have nothing to do with each other. Tully has basically all but disowned her.
Oh.
Like they do not have a relationship at all, as far as I know. But she just continues to use the Blanchard name. Because
it's okay. Tully has 2 sons named Dax and Cash.
She is his daughter, but the relationship there is not good, is my understanding. So, she uses it for clout, but he doesn't want to be associated with her. And I think he's said, I wish she wasn't the way she was, or something to that effect in an interview. So there's heat there. It's not like he's real close and trying to, it's not like a Rick and Charlotte situation at all. And that is not very apparent by the naming of them. So,
well, I wish Women of Wrestling a very not good evening. So that's that on that. As far as WWE content is concerned this week, did end up didn't watch Raw, but did end up actually watching a sizable chunk of Halloween Havoc, NXT 2.0.
Yeah, I watched most of it. This is the first time I've watched NXT in a very long time.
What did you think, Vishal? We've been doing a lot of talking, so I'll let you lead it.
I was mostly pleasantly surprised by what I saw of Halloween Havoc. The ladder match, I only caught the end of it, but it was gnarly in a good way. I like when they have stipulations, then let the matches actually be cool. Beyond that, we had Ciampa versus Braun Breaker, good match. They're both good wrestlers. Braun Breaker has a future ahead of him at WWE. I would be very surprised if they let him go easily. There was some Halloween party thing going on. That was weird.
Yeah.
I didn't really care for that.
Yeah, I have some words to say about that.
Roderick Strong versus Odyssey Jones was a good match that made me laugh a lot because they were expecting a cruiserweight and then Odyssey Jones tried to kill Roderick Strong.
That's true.
Big fan of that. I have mixed feelings on Raquel versus Mandy Rose because I don't think Mandy necessarily did a bad job. And I think that NXT is very much trying to push Toxic Attraction as like a legitimate group of wrestlers and not simply just people to ogle at, but they are also making it clear that they are people to ogle at.
Yeah.
And Raquel is probably going to go to the main roster, probably going to have a great time there because she's huge. And we'll see what happens there. I don't know.
Yeah.
The best Mandy Rose match I've ever seen is what I would call it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's got all... it takes two people, right, to make a good match. It just can't be one person. Like, somebody can be a standout, but like that in and of itself is also like kind of like complicit based on like what's going on in the match. So definitely a lot going on there.
Dakota Kai came back. Big fan of that.
Did you see MSK versus Imperium?
I thought that match was really good, and I want to note, so Meltzer and a couple of other, like, I'm not going to say Meltzer's a good person, but like reputable sources of wrestling all reported about how Izzy's family, the Bailey girl, if you don't know who Izzy is, she was a member of the Full Sail NXT crowd. And
as a child,
her parents kind of used the fact that she was recognizable as a huge fan of Bailey to their advantage. They would make people pay to take pictures with Izzy. They tried to have her, do wrestling school at 13 years old. One of the members of MSK, back when they weren't MSK, tweeted something to the effect of, "I wouldn't let my 13-year-old take a chokeslam bump." And Izzy's parents, being the carnies they are, decided because the NXT went back to the same group of people in the crowd every week. We're inviting the same people. We're making sure it's the same people every time. They got them and a bunch of their friends to constantly boo MSK whenever they were around. And it was weird because MSK were really good wrestlers. Every single match they had was really good. They're entertaining in the ring. They're everything you would want from NXT Tag Team Champions. And they would just keep getting boos at the Capitol Wrestling Center. It sucked.
I remember how we thought it was strange the NXT after WrestleMania, how we're like, why is MSK getting booed? We like
because they were getting cheered at the takeover right before. Everyone loved them because they were great,
and it just kind of switched in an instant. And it's also like, so obviously, Izzy's parents have this incredible grudge that they're holding, like incredibly strong, not incredible as a positive. But it's, that drill tweet that's like, this whole thing smacks of gender. To me, it's also like this whole thing smacks of racism, right?
Yeah.
Because somehow I don't think that they would have been holding this grudge to the same extent if MSK were white,
Yeah.
So what I want to mention about this is that after these reports came out, Halloween Havoc happened. And at Halloween Havoc, MSK got unanimous cheers from the crowd because a certain couple realized that they were getting recognized negatively for how they were treating genuinely talented wrestlers at NXT and are doing their best to not look like that. But the damage has been done. MSK is no longer tag team champions. I could easily see them going to either of the main roster brands, I think they are a fully formed tag team that could do well until they're forced to break up in 6 months.
Yeah, and it's
And
unfortunate.
Imperium's back.
Yeah, get a real MSK's about to get a real Max and Jeremy Buck situation going on here in 6 months on the main roster.
Well, and it's really like MSK is the one group where I say like a fresh start on the main roster will actually probably do them good in the main run or in the long run. And I would never say that about anyone else, but it's just like every bit of work, and they've done incredible work in NXT. Even what I've seen, like every bit of work that they've done has been undermined by this incredibly spiteful, like Honey Boo Boo ass parents.
Yeah.
Some of the stories that I have heard on, I'm not even being spicy. Some of the stories that I've heard, like there have been other children that have been in wrestling crowds that like, you know, someone gets a high five or whatever, and Izzy's parents will like hunt them down on social media and DM them and try to put Izzy in a match with them. Yeah, like it is some big yikes situation. And then also people not only said that they shouldn't be choke slamming, but that, you know, maybe you should look into the people, the maybe extremely disreputable people that are training your daughter. And
yeah, it should be noted that the wrestling school they sent Izzy to was run by one of the many people not associated with, pointed to and speaking out, who has a lot of very credible allegations against.
Yeah.
And
one of which
should not have been anywhere near a teenage girl.
No.
Yeah, one of which is being a registered sex offender. So, you know, obviously wrestlers are not always right, but this is one situation where they are well within their rights to say, hey, maybe don't.
Yeah.
So
maybe do not.
It's just a whole situation. One thing I will say, starting back at the top, I'm glad you only watched the end of the ladder match, Vishal, because there were some really rough. That whole ladder match was really rough. All those women were working really stiff. Even wrestlers that I know are way better than that. And I almost wonder if that was how they were being told to work. But the end was really good. That bump Io Shirai took, incredible. Very gnarly.
Io was a maniac.
It was
spots.
this weird. It was this weird mix of this really. I remember so long ago when I first started watching NXT. Like it was after NXT was on SmackDown, and then I went and checked out NXT because Adam Cole was there, and I said blatantly to our group of friends, said, why are the matches in NXT so much better than the ones on the main roster? So this week on Tuesday, the ladder match was this dizzying mix of WWE main roster WWE camera cuts and like the physicality of an NXT match that made me feel really weird when I was watching it. I was like, these two, well, this is not my beautiful house. And like, what's going on?
Maybe it's just me being more scrutinizing the camera angles more now that I know that they have this, we want the women to be sexy. But it seemed like all of them were shot like up the ladder. So the woman's butt that was climbing was literally center frame, and like you could see like damn it, I forget her name every time. Io's former tag partner.
Zoe Stark.
Zoe Stark. The woman has no ass, and I do not say that pejoratively. Some people are just built that way. But they tried to make it look like they shot it so you could see as much of the ass that she does have. You know, and it was really weird because it's like, and then people that I know are better on TV even than they were being, like Gigi Dolan was like lovingly, stiffly reaching for the, like she wasn't putting any emotion into the actions of reaching to the tag belts or climbing and obviously, you know, some of that's hard, but it was just weird.
Yeah. I think in general, ladder matches are difficult because it's very hard to fake that you're trying to unhook the thing from the ladder.
Yeah.
because it is very easy to unhook those things from the ladder.
Yeah. Or hard if you're supposed to take it off and maybe you can't get it right away.
Yeah, like Hangman Adam Page.
Hangman had a little bit of a time getting that chip off of there.
Yeah, let's be real. Chips are harder to do than belts.
That's true.
That's true.
At least you can unsnap the belt and get it off.
Yeah.
Unlike
Velcro or whatever.
unclipping something.
Very, very funny that Gigi Dolan only removed one belt to win the championships.
I did notice that. But yeah, there were some weird botches though. I think Zoe did a weird botch, didn't she? Like she stepped back and did like a flip off the turnbuckle and then just didn't hit it.
She just did not hit it. It was like it was a little paced a little strangely. That with the combined with like the weird ins and outs of like this Chucky situation was certainly something.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that I saw question that it was the opening match, therefore not getting a commercial break. Like it was just a weird thing to have as
commercial free Carnage.
Oh, sorry. It was a weird thing to have as your commercial free Carnage, as your match during the commercial free Carnage portion.
I would have maybe said you might have wanted to do the tag match.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it was just inexplicable. Who knows why they made that call, other than wanting the match that Toxic Attraction won the tag belts to be the commercial free one.
Yeah, they're really trying to push Toxic Attraction, and I want to mention that I genuinely kind of appreciate that they are building this women's faction and actually making them significant.
Yeah, like if you're going to give them the belts, give them all of them.
Yeah. Like now Toxic Attraction has a thing where they can be like, we ran Halloween Havoc.
Yep.
We're a big deal. Mm-hmm. Even when they eventually split up, as all factions do. So,
as all factions in WWE do.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I do really hope that they let them talk like normal people.
Yeah.
During promos from now on, because Lord God, I don't think I can take another one of those. We ran Halloween Havoc. Like if that's what happens, and it's a 50-50, right?
You never know what you're gonna get.
But if that's the way they keep going their entire champion run, that's gonna be rough. Even on people that are NXT diehards, that's going to be rough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also want to bring up two more parts of the show, which was the Loomis and Gargano haunted house that they had Carmelo Hayes run through. Delightful.
Delightful. Yeah.
Best part of the show. And also, Solo Sikoa had his debut. He is
the blonde
of
Uso.
The Anoa'i family.
Yeah,
he
the blonde
looks
Uso.
exactly like the Usos, but blonde.
Yes.
And it was weird. They didn't let him do very much in the match.
Well, and people were
I feel
chanting.
Like they should have given. Yeah.
They were chanting Uso. Yeah.
Yeah.
They should have let him do more in the match. It was like a 30-second squash at most.
Yeah. I literally missed it because I went to go like take care of the cats or something. And
yeah, I loved Ciampa's. We'll revisit the Kratos cosplay later in the episode.
Ciampa did it first, is all I'm gonna say.
He did. I think Stu had that costume like idea before, and then he's like,
I think he's done it before.
I think he has too. But I liked that match. I like that Ciampa retains. I know some people were like, just give Braun Breaker the belt, and I get it, but it's not time.
It's not his. Braun Breaker is gonna be the new Sami Zayn of NXT 2.0. I think that's how I'd describe him. He's like gonna be the centerpiece of the show.
Yeah,
and you need to build to that.
Yeah, let him have a story. Like if you're gonna give anyone a story, let that have the story. So I'm happy with that.
Also, it's weird to have all of your titles change hands, even if it's a special like episode of
it's
TV.
On TV.
Yeah.
Which we don't know the status of takeovers. Like who knows?
But
I am of the opinion that if every single one of your titles is on the line, at least one of them needs to change hands. Like I complained a lot to you both when AEW had that one special episode of Dynamite and none of the titles changed hands.
We're looking at you, Fighter Fest Night 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a weird decision,
Yeah.
right? But I also think that not all of your, like, if you have all of your titles change hands on a regular night of TV, that's weird. Even if it's a special episode.
Yeah, I think that you should, if you're doing it on TV, 1, maybe 2 titles change hands. 2 is a lot.
Yeah.
2 is like,
and we had
significant.
3.
We had 3. And I'll note that the women's tag titles they don't mean
They have no
anything.
prestige.
They shouldn't exist. Let me just say, if the
They were
women's
created
tag,
because they were created because the main roster refused to let an NXT tag team win their championships.
yeah,
And NXT management genuinely felt bad because Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez deserved it.
yeah,
And then they immediately had them lose the first night they had the titles. It's-
Yeah, you know.
wild.
You know what else is wild? So speaking of that Halloween party, and the thing that makes me, again, I know some people say, well, women should be allowed to be sexy. Totally agree.
Yep, I 100%.
However, the thing that makes me continuously leery, aside from the backstage reports, of how the women in NXT 2.0 are being presented is epitomized by how we started with the Halloween party segment. So this Australian man,
Grayson Waller.
Grayson Waller, thank you. White bread, could not remember his name for the life of me.
Mhm. Bad
So
name.
Starts by talking.
He's Australian.
Yeah, he starts by talking about how one of the best things about Halloween parties is how the women are wearing basically nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then so he goes to said Halloween party, and he's ogling all the women, all of them. I think there's one in a bunny costume, which I love the Playboy bunny costume aesthetically. Don't get me wrong. Maybe doesn't have a place here.
Yeah.
And so then we have Cameron Grimes, and Charlie's like, oh, Cameron's here. And I'm like, yeah, but he's here to get a girlfriend on this party where we're already ogling how little the women are wearing. And so he's like between two women that I don't even think are like NXT 2.0 regulars.
No.
I didn't recognize them. They're, very, very sexy costumes. And he's like, ooh.
Yeah.
And it's like, I am afraid for what they're turning Cameron Grimes into, genuinely. And then we see Kushida and what's it?
Hikam and Jiro.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, what's going on? We don't understand. And because Kushida's Marty McFly, but he's always Marty McFly, right?
Kushida's been Marty McFly for years.
God bless Kushida for living the
Love
gimmick.
him for that.
Yeah. So he's, got a red Solo cup in his hand, and they're like, what's going on? And Grayson Waller's like, you guys don't have Halloween where you're from? And they shake their heads, and they're like,
Which is
not
true.
Not true.
If anybody else other than America knows how to do it up on Halloween, it is Japan. So don't give me any of that.
Arguably, their Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights are better than ours.
Mhm.
Arguably. There are fierce
I
defenders
believe it.
on either side.
Trauma 2.
So they're like, Grayson like gives a brief rundown of like the 2 big parts of Halloween, and then they're like, oh, okay, whatever. And then Grayson Waller says, man, foreigners are weird. You're
remember
from
that.
Australia.
So upon further examination, and I'm not giving this a pass, but if his character was any type of consistent, which I think it's supposed to be, he's an idiot. The thing that he said was supposed to be, I'm not giving them credit for this.
Right.
It still felt really gross, but I think it was supposed to be like, oh, foreigners are weird, but he's a foreigner, so that just makes him seem like an idiot for saying that. But oof.
The whole scene seemed intended to make fun of him.
Yeah.
But again, not giving them credit for it because it wasn't good. It was uncomfortable the whole time. I didn't laugh.
But see,
Yeah.
even with NXT 1.0 though, like the like anti-Asian racism through line makes me really uncomfortable, even because you have like Zoe going to lunch with
Oh no!
Io Shirai.
Oh goodness.
And
not
One of the
this.
worst segments in the history of the show. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, there is, like, that was pretty recent, and now we have, oh, these foreigners are weird. And I would even maybe say different production staff, you know, things have changed, and kind of try to give them the benefit of the doubt. If they hadn't turned around and during the lumberjack lantern match later have Kushida and what is Jujin?
Ikemen Jiro.
Ikemen
Ikemen
Jiro.
Jiro.
Yeah.
In like old-timey wrestler costumes, which I thought was a great gimmick until I realized that it was them. And the joke was they didn't know, or the implied joke, at least the joke I read, was they didn't know what kind of costumes to get for Halloween. So they just chose the thing that they already were.
I don't think I saw it as that joke because, again, Kushida's Marty McFly. That's kind of,
Yeah.
that's his deal. And Jiro's whole deal is that he wears like a jacket and trunks and just looks like a maniac. It's great.
So I guess the read could be that Jiro and Kushida were trying to be more normal.
I
like
think it
they're
was
already
more
extravagant.
that like, their costume is them toning it down because they're already wild.
Okay.
Which
I can see
think,
that.
Yeah, that's not mean. But again, I think just the fact that there's so much ambiguity, the whole thing was so uncomfortable. They should have just kind of scrapped everything before their costumes being old-timey wrestlers, because their costumes being old-timey wrestlers is great.
Yeah, if they just showed up, like, absent of any context. I had friends that were seeing that follow Ikemen Jiro and Kushida, you know, from their days before they came to the US to wrestle, and said, like, oh, this Halloween costume is so fun. Like, he's a wrestler, but he's a wrestler.
Yeah.
And I think absent any context, absent the awkward Halloween party segment, I think that is a lot of fun. So, you know, you just didn't need that.
Yeah, I think all in all, I think this was, outside of probably like some of that stuff we just talked about, this episode of NXT was okay. Like,
No, I wouldn't say it was on par with what I would expect from an NXT Super Show before 2.0, but it was. I enjoyed my time watching it at the end of the day. And again, this was the first episode of NXT I've watched in over a month, and I was mostly pleasantly surprised by it.
Yeah,
we come back to it, and I will say I did. A friend had seen a clip of when last year. Was it last year? Earlier this year? Last year, I believe, when Roddy got kidnapped by Dexter Lumis, and the Yui had the whole skit where it was them trying to convince Roddy to be okay after he was a little traumatized. And my friend watched that clip and said, "This is the funniest thing I've ever seen WWE do." And I said, "I think it's because they gave those four guys like." They just had him do whatever. Like it was them being funny, because it was Adam Cole being funny in the way Adam Cole is funny. His like deadpan delivery of like earnest things that make no sense.
And then Kyle O'Reilly pretending to be a therapist, but also he wasn't in the same room as them because of COVID quarantining.
And
so they just cut away every time to him.
And asking Roddy to get back in the trunk after he's already been traumatized from being in the trunk, so thinking about stuff like that, and just juxtaposed with what they think is funny now, like those are really two diametrically opposed beings.
Like I would even just say, look at everything Johnny Gargano did to William Regal while he was a heel.
Yeah.
And then look at what they're doing now. It's not the same.
No.
Yeah. And we did some of those compare and contrast last week with the changes in the index segments. So yeah, it's unfortunate. I will say there were some people giving criticism to the Spirit Halloween flavor of some of the Halloween Havoc decorations. And I will say, having watched Halloween Havoc 1992, there is a precedent for historical Halloween Havocs with way less overt Halloween theming. So I don't mind, because there was barely anything other than Jake the Snake coming out with a fucking snake and forcing it to bite him. That was about the scariest thing that happened. In
that and the intro. That and the intro.
So I had fun with it. I'm always glad to see.
I like Halloween stuff. It's fun.
I do think I would enjoy the segments from this Tuesday more than, as good as the New Day are, the New Day versus Undertaker interactive movie / game that's on Netflix. Because Charlie and I were listening to a podcast about some of the decisions they made for that experience, and they are truly baffling. Whereas this was just like, you know, even if I wasn't laughing all the time, it was genuinely enjoyable. And the acting was campy and silly, but that's what it is.
It's kind of what you want from Halloween, in my opinion.
I'd rather that than the apparent weird seriousness of the Undertaker thing, where they just like, you expect Scooby-Doo and it's just played straight. Like, that is worse to me.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
Well, SmackDown apparently
let's talk
was
about
okay.
Raw first, because
what happened on Raw?
Raw had one major thing happen, which was the ladder match for Big E's next contender.
Oh, I've got a bone to pick about this.
By all accounts, was a fantastic match. I know your bone. I don't agree with it. We'll get to it. But so first of all, there was a fatal 4-way ladder match between Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, Rey Mysterio, and Finn Balor to determine Big E's next big opponent for not a pay-per-view, because next is Survivor Series, but at some point they're going to have a match.
In the next weeks.
Yeah, next week. Crap. Okay. And Seth Rollins won the match. From all accounts, it was a fantastic ladder match, because it turns out if you put Kevin Owens in a ladder match, it's going to be great. If you put Rey Mysterio in a ladder match, it's going to be
Oh, that sounds
Seth
good.
Rollins in most matches, it's going to be great. And if you put Finn Balor in any match ever, it's going to be great. I'm going to say that.
No favoritism there.
No favoritism.
No favoritism.
Michelle can have his. I have mine. We're fine.
We're fine. There was some other not good stuff, including Keith Bearcat Lee's new entrance, where he just kind of shrieks like he's Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, I saw some chatter about
as
that.
Silly as when Brock Lesnar does it.
The thing is that he's supposed to be like a bear cat, right? He's wild. Yeah, that you're not far off if what my timeline had to say is correct.
But so you've heard what Keith Lee sounds like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard Brock Lesnar scream at the beginning of his entrance, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine Keith Lee making that noise.
Don't wanna.
That's what we got.
I don't wanna.
My brain is glitching out. It refuses to imagine that.
I mean,
there was some other stuff. Zelina Vega and Doudrop had a rematch for some reason. I think it was about as short as the regular match.
It's just rematch because it's rematch city.
Riddle and Orton beat Ziggler and Rude.
Zood.
Sure.
Yeah.
Zood. There's Zood now? Is that the thing?
No, I just said that.
All right.
We'll wait till next week when they come out announced as Zood. Yeah. You can't let your power like this, Charlie.
Oh yeah, Damian Priest got new music, didn't he?
He got new music, and he is maybe feuding with Retribution. Don't know what's going on there, but sure. And Bianca and Becky continued their not having a match thing, but they're going to have a match now. Again.
Yeah. So let me pull my bone pick out of here. I think the fact that the ladder match is great is wonderful. Those wrestlers are very good. Edge and Seth Rollins had a Hell in a Cell match in Saudi Arabia. Seth Rollins lost that Hell in a Cell match. He lost the rubber match. Done. Feud over. Why does the loser get the next shot at why does a loser get the next shot at the WWE Championship?
So, that's actually, again, I think I disagree with that, because mainly in WWE how it works is you call your shot and either the champion says yes or management says you got to earn it. And that's basically what happens. Seth is reeling from basically being humiliated in Saudi Arabia. Did he tap out? Did he get pinned? I don't remember. But he lost definitively. Nothing to be said about it. And he wants anything to do now. He doesn't want to go to the mid card, is basically how I see it. So he calls his shot at Big E. Everyone else calls their shot at Big E because it's the season premiere of Raw. Didn't note that. It's allegedly the season premiere of Raw, which is why they had a big ladder match.
Yeah,
Sure.
I saw the commercials for the season premiere.
I understand. I do. I think I'm thinking about it in a winner. And I don't, you know what? I never thought I'd be this person. Never thought I'd be this person. Because I felt like if you had a storyline reason for asking for a match or getting a match, that's all that would matter. But, like...
I mean, how I would compare it is Kenny Omega lost the tag team titles and then he won the tournament after that. And it's the same thing, just in a shorter time frame.
Yeah.
Like Kenny Omega's next story was winning that number one contenders tournament to face Mox.
I think for me, like, and all biases checked. We got them all checked off on the box with what I'm going to say next. I think for me, that was a larger through line for Kenny's story that they were telling me, not the things I had to string together. Like, and I've done that more times than I can count with WWE stuff, like, especially with Seth or anyone involved that I actually like, saying, okay, this is why. And I'm pulling stuff. It's not the story they're telling me. It's the stuff I have to pull together to make it make sense in my brain.
Oh, so see, I don't have to pull this together. This actually makes sense to me because Seth started attacking Edge in the first place because he was mad Edge got a title shot before him.
Yeah.
And then he took it too far because he's Seth Rollins, and that's kind of what he does. He went to Edge's house for some reason, and then they tried killing each other for a bit.
He just sat around for a bit.
He just ate an apple.
He just ate an apple, put his feet on the furniture.
Vaguely threatening statements about
Edge's house.
family. Like,
yeah.
It was weird.
It was a bit strange. My fear is why they ended up giving Seth this title shot is because they are going to give Seth the belt, so it can be Roman versus Seth at Survivor Series, a match that will only have to do with brand supremacy and nothing to do with their actual history and a reason or a build that could make this match great. It will just be a heel versus a heel match that makes you want to puke all over the screen. So, yeah.
I don't feel the same way about the potential for Roman versus Seth, but what I will say is that the Big E versus Seth match is really interesting to me because, first of all, Big E's the guy who beat Seth for the NXT championship.
No, that's got
way back. And
it's got bones.
And I think if anyone else was involved, they wouldn't mention it. And I think because Seth Rollins is involved, they might. And even if they don't, I am interested to see what these two guys can do like 7 years later.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes.
I think it's not so much Roman versus Seth that makes me kind of queasy. It's the fact that I'd have to I want to root for I want to root for somebody, and somebody's gonna have to wrestle face, and it's not gonna be Roman. So
it's gonna be Seth Rollins, and I'm gonna be rooting for Seth Rollins, Charlie. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
I agree. No, 100%. I agree 100% with that. But I wish WWE wanted to tell me that story, if that makes sense. Fair. Like I wish. Mm-hmm. I wish I could organically get behind Seth as a face again instead of whatever we've been on for the last year and some odd change. I think
Survivor Series is like the one time a heel versus heel match can work. Because my comparison here is Bryan versus Lesnar at Survivor Series 2018, which was, I thought, a really good match. They were both heels because Brock Lesnar's Brock Lesnar and Daniel Bryan just kicked AJ Styles in the balls.
Yeah. In all intents and purposes, I would love to watch Roman versus Seth, but I just wish they wanted to tell me that story. I'm gonna watch it and I'll probably enjoy it, to some degree. I'll be rooting for Seth. Do a Phoenix Splash. I know you can do one. Let Seth do the stuff he can do because he doesn't do it when he's a heel. Not that they'll let him go boss of the wall anyway, but so SmackDown happened after that. SmackDown happened, and the women had an interesting segment up on at first, and then it kind of went a little awry. In regards to
I saw
why
Shotzi
did you make
and Charlotte
this?
Had a match.
Yeah, Shotzi and Charlotte had a match, and then Shotzi's a face you want to root for. Mm-hmm. And then Sasha came out and did a DQ because of course they did a DQ for the match. And because that's That's all. WWE is built on DQ finishes. So, and then they had Shotzi beat the hell out of Sasha and apparently turn heel. It's just
Shotzi's been on like this weird seesaw.
They took her tag team partner away because they dissolved the tag team.
Yeah.
Without telling them.
And then sent Ember back to...
You mean Tegan?
Oh, yeah.
Mikey's bad with names today.
No. Weren't Shotzi...
She used to be with Ember in NXT, but
oh yeah, they took that away
because
too.
she was with Tegan in NXT, and then Tegan got injured, so she teamed with Ember for a bit, and then Tegan came back and then went to the main roster.
Well, and then they sent they were together, and then they sent Shotzi to the main roster without Ember, right?
Yeah,
that's what I meant.
They sent Shotzi and Tegan because that was their original team, but yeah,
and it was just kind of weird.
Yeah,
that all happened in the middle of a storyline.
Yeah,
that
it did.
I was thinking about. I wasn't confusing people again.
But why? I mean, WWE runs on DQ finishes and heel heat, I guess. Like,
because that's all Sasha Banks has been doing. That's been like, if you run things around this division, if you're the boss, like. It's just weird. You're the boss, so you go in and you personally interfere in all the other women's matches. It's just so bizarre. Like, I don't know what this character they're building for Sasha
from the Bleacher Report recap is that Sasha maybe distracted Shotzi at some point in the match, and then Charlotte beat her with a pinfall, and then Shotzi beat Sasha up at the end of the match because she was angry.
Yeah, I mean, you could perceive it in a couple different ways, I think, but
weird things that are happening. I'm not watching. What I do know, sadly, is that Mustafa Ali, after a very long time of trying his best to avoid ever doing this, had to cut and heel a "You People" promo, where he just did all the things that he had spent his entire time at WWE begging to not do because he was better than that.
Yep.
So what I read was the "You People" promo was cutting a promo on people who are Islamophobic and bigoted towards him, but it was meant to be him as a heel. So it's like by proxy and logic, like those things are actually good. Like it's okay to boo him because he's Muslim.
Yeah.
Woof.
Mm-hmm.
Roman was not on the show at all.
I mean, that's not a bad thing necessarily.
No, it was good. I was just saying.
You know who were on the shows and actually did something really well was the Usos, who had a standoff with the New Day that I actually watched after the show, and it was genuinely really fun.
I mean, the Usos aren't
the
bad
Usos
wrestlers.
and the New Day are like really good together. It's almost like they had a classic feud that everyone still is like, this is WWE tag team wrestling.
Hey, it's almost like you get charismatic tag teams that channel the energy of tag teams, and they do.
And you literally can't break them up because two of them are brothers, and the other two are part of a group of people that will leave if you break them up.
Yeah. So it's almost like if you get that magic and you can sprinkle it anywhere.
In other news, Brock Lesnar got fined $1 million.
Yeah.
Which I guarantee is like 2% of what he's making from one match.
And it's not like, fines in WWE mean literally anything.
Yeah.
I mean, and that is one thing that is consistent with sports and sports entertainment, because very rarely do fines that are levied mean anything. Mm-hmm. There was a weird segment with Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss that I did actually see.
all the things to see, Mikey.
Listen, the algorithm deigned that I needed to see this with my own two eyes, so I did. It was weird. It was like the host told a joke, and then Happy Corbin goes, no, that's not how jokes work. Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss are the leaders of comedy around these parts. Madcap Moss, you can tell a better joke than that. Tell a better joke than that. And he told a weird joke about witches, and it wasn't very funny, and then they laughed and left. That was the
Okay. A vote. Then put it up for a vote. Is Happy Corbin better than King Corbin?
I mean,
Yes.
King Corbin was pretty bad, so I'd say yes. Just
King Corbin was dumping dog food on Roman Reigns. Like, there's
Yeah.
nowhere to go but up.
Yeah, yeah.
That's true. Is Happy
But
Corbin
what I will say
better
is
than...
he's significantly worse than bum-ass Corbin.
I was about to say. I was about to say that. So really, we've ended in the place we started. So
I was hoping Corbin would have like a Agent Cooper goes to Dougie, like Twin Peaks: The Return, where he's like gambling and then has like a weird out of body experience and like loses his personality or something. You know, because at least that would be interesting. Also, everyone loves Dougie.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, so Roman wasn't on SmackDown, but I'm fine with that. Yeah, I mean, it was fine. It wasn't like revolutionary or nothing. But other than that, is there anything else you want to talk about with regard to WWE?
Apparently, there is still a weird feud between Sonya Deville and Naomi.
Yeah, that's going on.
Yeah. This is literally just when Stephanie was feuding with the Bellas again. There's nothing good about this.
Except for there's a weird racial overtone now that I don't like at all. And I didn't like, sometimes you don't realize something until you see someone else point it out, and then you're like, ooh, that's gross.
It's bad.
Yeah. All right. Well, other than that, let's get on to AEW Dynamite and Rampage, which, you know what?
I'm going to start from the worst part of the show, which was after several weeks of really impressing everyone here, MJF just kind of sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And it goes back to what Will said last week, which was like any asshole can make these stupid comments. Like, it doesn't take a talented performer to say these things. Like, I could go out there and fucking say these things. Like,
yeah.
He just kind of said Boston was full of fat women, and one, like, dude, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
That's not funny. That's not heat I want to boo. That's just like, go somewhere else.
Go somewhere else.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Also, at this point, when MJF starts screaming, "Cut my music! Cut my..." Like, I just take psychic damage because I know what's coming.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's going to be another one of
And
these.
I thought it could be okay because Sean came to the ring with him. Like, the one thing that did manage to impress me, was Wardlow, who looked 110% done with the whole segment the entire time it was happening.
Yeah.
And like, MJF cut good parts of the promo when it came to specifically Sting and Darby, when he was talking about them and not trying to get heat by insulting the crowd for no reason.
Yeah.
He was doing what he does pretty well. Not at his best. This wasn't his best.
Yeah.
But he was serviceable for parts of it. And then he went cheap and it wasn't good.
No.
There's ways to do cheap heat that are very funny, like when Kofi Kingston yelled that he hated country music in Nashville. Love that.
Yeah. As much, you know, Jericho the performer is someone that is kind of infamous for actually being very good at generating cheap heel heat. And that is one thing where, at least during his heyday, like, he knew... We all can agree, I think, that Jericho on commentary on Rampage, like, he turns that dial up to 11. I think we talked about that
sometimes it works for me, sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
Yeah.
But in WWE, when he was heel, he knew how to turn that dial just a little bit. So it could be that incredulous heel, and MJF is like trying to do that, but doesn't know. He's still finding that line. And
he should have found it by now.
I agree.
Like, and not in regards to how young he is, because he is, and he's got a lot of room for improvement. But at this point, I'm done giving Max, I'm done giving him passes because he's been doing this for so long. Like, doing the same thing.
My general feeling is that when they give him time to actually come up with interesting things to say to generate heat, like they likely did the past couple weeks, he can do a really good job. But when they give him, like, day of, you're going to be in Boston, just kind of say stuff, he doesn't know what to say, and he resorts to the lowest
That's a good point.
I almost think that because you know how some people will say, and I believe this is really true, is that some people thrive on the, hey, here's the mic, go out and say something. Some people thrive in that environment. Others need the help. Like they need to say, here's what to say. Not necessarily here's what to say, but like bullet point, bullet point, bullet point. This is kind of this is the direction we want you to go. Max is, I think, the kind of person who needs those bullet points. Like more specific, the better.
Yeah. He's
like,
not a CM Punk.
He's not a CM Punk or a KO or a Mox by any
or
degree.
Big E.
Like he's a guy that's good on the mic, but like
he is very good at delivery and exceptionally bad at material.
Yes, there. That's a great way to put it. Because those are two different skills. Like improv is hard.
Yeah, some people are good at both.
I'm not going to hold it against him if he needs a script and like has to like run through stuff, because there's still points in every promo where he can react to the crowd and do things organically and kind of develop that while he has an actual structured thing to work off of.
Yeah. The best part for me was when Darby was in the crowd dressed as the Invisible Man. Like that was really, really
excellent.
Good. That was excellent.
Stuff.
Yeah. I think that's really good, and I was happy that happened. There was
speaking of other down points, Cody Rhodes sucks.
Oh boy.
He is pushing himself. He is pushing this idea that he is incredibly aware of how everyone is talking about him, and he knows all the things people are saying, and he's just one step ahead of all of us. And he knows that turning heel is actually easy and staying face is the really hard thing to do. You know why it's hard, Cody? Because you suck at it. Because you have done literally nothing since getting this garbage neck tattoo, this thing that makes me think that you want to actually hate crime me. Might want to cut that. I don't know. But
hey,
this
those
thing
are
that
real emotions.
Yeah,
this thing that makes me genuinely feel afraid if I would ever see you in person. You have done a terrible job of someone I would ever want to see win a single match in your entire life.
I mean,
even before that, I thought he was annoying, but like the neck tattoo, the Go-Go feud, everything this year has just been horrendous.
You have to call a spade, right? Like, whether he realizes it or not, I think it's fair to say what you said, because the bright platinum blonde hair and the neck tattoo, those are like very fashy things, right? Like, he looks like Albert Wesker. Albert Wesker is a fascist. Like, it's not a good look. And in Japan, like, that plays a certain way, but you can't come back to the US and say, oh, I was playing on Metal Gear Solid in Japan and trying to be everything that was the worst parts of America, and then come back and just wholeheartedly embrace that symbology in the US. Like, it doesn't work that way.
Not where we are in 2021.
No, and I would argue even before that.
Yeah,
but especially not now.
Certainly before that.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, and then he apologized to everyone for letting Hollywood get in the way. He apologized to Arn Anderson.
But it wasn't sincere. It was like, I'm sorry that my ambitions got in the way. You know,
like, he's doing this thing that, like, and a couple of my friends are like, I feel sorry for Cody. Like, so, not like sorry as in like I feel bad for Cody, but like that he thinks this is what people want to see.
Yeah,
or like
he thinks that he's doing the WWE thing of being like, the people want something and I don't immediately like it, therefore it's a bad suggestion, and I am smart by doing something that they don't want. Yeah,
and at this point, like, if all of this is because he was secretly knew he was a heel all along, like, I don't fucking care at this point.
No,
like, that's some galaxy brain shit that is just like, wrestling is not, AEW as presented is not a medium where you can do parody very well, right? No. And especially
the
not
closest
the
we
way
got
Cody's,
was Brody Lee.
Right. Yeah. And Cody is not the person to do that, especially not with any consistent, like, that's not the direction Malachi's pushing him in, right? So if somebody were to try to say it was parody, that doesn't fly for me, because parody, you have to have on some level an acknowledgement that is not what Cody
And
has
like the
had.
three men that are wrapped around Cody, like right now, Malachi, Andrade, and Pac at this point are three men I would love to see feuding with each other.
They're so much better than him.
And not Cody. Like I didn't want to see Pac come out. If Pac came out, it was only to hurt Malachi and Andrade. I don't ever want to see it be like Pac came out to help Cody, because that's what baby faces do. I don't want to see a tag match. In fact, Cody, if you book a tag match, what I would prefer to see is if you said, I'm having this tag match with Pac versus Andrade and Malachi, and then Pac just never shows up. like that's not the character Pac is, right? Like
Pac does the thing that Mox did to him that one time, just kind of kicks Cody and leaves.
Yeah. Like he can be like, Pac can be like a face by proxy, but like it doesn't facilitate a change in character, right? Like it's not it's like because you're on this side of it, not because you've actually changed at all.
And to be clear, I am someone who pre-neck tattoo, like around the era of before even his entrance has always been ostentatious, but there was a time, weird though it might be for those who have just started to watch, there's a time when, at least to me, his like Blade Runner ass entrance like made you feel something. And this was like around the time and really just after he lost the cage match with and lost the title belt with Jericho and said, I'll never challenge again, and was trying to find himself and really like was doing this kind of injured pride thing really well. Like there was a time when I
with MJF.
And I really liked Cody. I have gone from liking Cody Rhodes to absolutely hating him.
Yeah.
And like through the entire journey of me watching,
I miss the Cody that ran his head into the steel ramp at Full Gear 2019.
That was a good.
Like, that match, that's the match that made me be like, oh, I'm gonna AEW. Like this feels so genuine. This feels like something new. I need to stress, I also very much really liked Cody for a while, and the Agogo feud was specifically the point where I got very uncomfortable with him, because he never acknowledged at all that the things he said were maybe not true, or maybe he should have phrased differently. He just kind of kept going with it, and he won.
Yeah. Also, like, you can't, like, as a white person, you can't give that promo that he did when the person that you are giving the promo, like your opponent, was a black man who grew up poor in London. Like, you just can't. You can't, you know, like, that just does not feel right.
No.
Like, I don't care who you are. If you're a white man and you're talking about how you have a biracial baby, and like it just is not right.
Yeah.
And so like it was already bad, but then like the other thing is, you know, again, we do a lot of separating the man from the performer in wrestling, because you kind of have to at a certain level, but he also just has zero passion. Like the things that we were all talking about, like it was very easy to see and to get engrossed in the character of Cody Rhodes, because there was a level of passion. Like he was desperate to do anything to win. And even if he wasn't that good, his, you know, in the story, his skill level was not up to par, but through sheer guts, he could persevere.
Yeah.
What is he desperate to do now? Not turn heel?
Yeah.
Like, that's not a motivation that,
like,
is understandable.
In somebody's hands who could convey the nuance well, maybe.
I would honestly say that the John Cena Bray Wyatt feud, as bad as it was done at the end, felt more meaningful than this.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I can respect a story where you have all of these forces pushing at you to do this thing, but you are desperate not to do it because you find that it would be you failing to do that. But Cody, like, you know, Kenny's character says he's lost passion. I don't know what Cody's passionate about. Where's the guy that cut the promo on the first pandemic episode of Dynamite in the ring that made me cry. Like, where's that guy? Like, where is he? I don't know. I don't know where he went.
Well, and I think that is the other thing. You bring up the John Cena and Bray Wyatt feud. I think the thing that really sticks out to me about that is, for shockingly, since it was WWE, they were okay with the idea of John Cena failing. I don't find it believable that Cody Rhodes will ever fail. Like,
it was really, really bad when he beat Malachi. Everyone was booing him, and commentary called it a redemption.
Yeah.
It wasn't played like, oh, we're aware that this is going to like lead somewhere in the future. It wasn't played like this isn't a redemption and we're calling it that because commentary still sees Cody as a face. This was, we want Cody to be seen as the good guy still.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's like you said, even if this is some slow burn galaxy brain, oh, Cody's gonna like turn heel finally and it'll be so satisfying. It's not. You can't stretch things out forever and then have them still be satisfying. There's a reason that Hangman's challenging Kenny right now for Full Gear and not waiting. There's a reason that if Hangman loses at Full Gear, I will lose a level of investment in that story.
Yeah.
I'll get tired of it. I'm tired of Cody's face run. I needed to see something new a month ago at least.
Yeah.
Well, and
we were ready a month ago, I think, to give Cody some credit.
Well, and the thing is, like, too, the thing that really sticks out to me, WWE almost doesn't let anything stick, right? Like, almost anything is run back or they find ways to subvert it, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And there's really only like a 2-year span that they keep within things that they're referencing. They let obviously John Cena went to Hollywood. He was filming a lot of projects, but they still let him be like dead in WWE programming after he failed at the Firefly Funhouse match for a while.
Yeah.
And
he did eventually come back, and they didn't acknowledge it at all because Bray Wyatt was gone from the company.
Yeah. But, you know, like at that point also, it's like, you know, that things can reset. You can have a soft reboot. But like, they let him fail and then like let him be off TV. Cody lost and was off TV for like a month. And during this time, Roads to the Top started airing. So like what, you know, you never really felt like Cody was gone or that he had failed and been redeemed. And they had that one good segment with Arn, or like a couple good segments, but a couple segments is nothing in a company where we've had the Hangman and Kenny thing going on for like the better part of 2 years.
Yeah.
Like it literally.
I mean, Kenny and the Elite story's been happening since the company
That's what
started.
I'm saying. So like 2 months is not long-term storytelling.
No.
Yeah.
Well, do you have do you have any more
let's talk about it.
downer spots before we move on to what we liked?
No.
Okay.
No, since we're talking about AEW as a whole, I want to continue from last week. I just want to bring up again, Britt Baker is continuing to act like Roman Reigns, and I need to stress that this isn't solely on Britt. This is a mixture of Britt being a very good heel champion and AEW's women's division not being able to book very much for the women.
Yeah.
So when someone loses, instead of going to the mid card like someone who loses to Roman Reigns does, they go off TV. They go to dark.
Yeah.
That sucks. And I don't want to pin this all on Britt Baker. I just find myself frustrated in her title reign. But
that's fair.
Beyond that, I think we have mostly positive things.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, and even on that note, the thing that's good about having like Abaddon is what I would classify as they are a terrifying mid-carder. So you don't have to worry about someone going to the mid-card because Abaddon is already there. That's just where they live, right? And Abaddon said this week that they use they them pronouns, so that's how I'm going to refer to them. But the thing is, like, Abaddon is that scary person that you never want to get to the point of fighting. So, you know, they had that incredible match with Sheeta where Sheeta was like dead for a bit. And this is one where Britt was actually scared.
Yeah, I will say that.
She was cocky. Yeah. She was making fun. Like Jamie Hayter and Rebel both came out in zombie makeup and Britt did a really good little like at the camera and then like laughed and shook it off. But then once Abaddon actually got in the ring, Britt's confidence shook a little bit. And that is, to be fair, something I've never seen happen with Roman. And
see, so I think that even in the demon match, when Finn does his weird spooky demon rise up from the dead thing, Roman does look scared, and then the rope breaks and he wins. And then in this case, and then Jamie Hayter pops up and Britt wins.
Yeah, that's fair.
It feels the same to me, and I don't want it to, because I know Britt Baker is a better performer than that.
Yeah.
On a positive women's note, Shida versus Serena Deeb was incredible.
Yeah.
A really good match. Really good match.
Again, like we already mentioned like the Cody, my personal journey with my feelings about Cody Rhodes. Serena Deeb is someone that I thought, oh, she has no charisma, I will never like her. And while I'm still like, again, out of the ring, you know, who knows? But inside the ring, totally on board with this scummy, weird, like, inspirational speaker gimmick thing that she's got going on. Like, I can't put my finger on what exactly like scummy profession she's got, but it's something like that, right?
So that match was really incredible. We've run more time in the TNT women's tournament than we did the entire Queen's Crown tournament at this point. So, you know,
and we're getting numbers on when they do rematches, like we're getting the numbers to make them feel significant.
Yeah, like, so there's still a story going on. I really love the fact that this is a story. There's no title involved. Like, now that Serena's attacked Shida's leg, like, will she even be able to really compete in the next part?
It's a good way to pull Shida out of the tournament and keep this feud with Serena going, because they have a really strong thing going on right now.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
Ethan Page is a really good wrestler, and
Sammy does a lot of flips.
To wrestle more.
Yeah, Sammy does many flips.
Yeah.
Dan Lambert, bless the Lord, was not on our television screens this week because Tony Khan banned him from ringside.
Yeah,
good stipulation.
Yeah,
that
great.
stip got announced, and everyone that I know was like, "Thank you,
thank you, Tony."
CM Punk and Bobby Fish had a hell of a match.
Oh yeah, it was great.
He finished. So something that has always bugged me about wrestling when I watch it is, when someone can kick out at 2.99999, or they just won't kick out at all.
Yeah.
And Bobby Fish kicked out at like 3.01 here.
Yeah.
And it was really good.
Yeah. It's for a reason. If it's for a reason, like if it's, you know, it can, the line, it really straddles the line. I don't ever want to see anybody kick out at 3.5 or 3.1 after a one-winged angel.
I think it's,
but
yeah, like I don't want to see a Hogan here, but I would like to see more of this. Like, you didn't knock them out, you just were able to hold them down long enough.
Yeah.
That's what a pinfall is.
And reportedly, CM Punk actually asked for this because it was not only Bobby Fish's birthday, but it was in his hometown, and also like it just helps him look strong. And I
Bobby
thought
Fish would be from
Bobby
Boston.
Fish looked great.
Yeah, I thought it was a great match. Like, I like CM Punk, but the beginning, I was like, oh, it's not the Elite. I'm sorry. I was like, oh, it's not the Elite. Like,
the Elite rule the entrance match spot.
I was like, oh, it's not the Elite. You know, like maybe I can just sit and vibe for a second, catch up on my Discord messages that I fell behind on while I was at work. And then this started, and I was like, sucked in actually, and I was like, oh, I can't just like vibe for a bit.
It's going to officially be FTR versus the Lucha Bros for the tag team championship.
I think that should be fun.
That should be
it's
great.
Almost like Tony Khan's little clipboard was very accurate.
Let's talk about Mox destroying 10.
That was
Mox murdered a man in cold blood and still got cheered as he walked out of the arena.
Also, it was a great match.
It was.
Also, I'm gonna be real. 10 is so looks so good when he bleeds that I can't be mad about it at any point.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see what there is to be mad about. This is a guy who is a random person as part of a large stable that his name is a number. I don't want to like say the Dark Order is bad, but they've never been about the individual since Brody Lee passed.
Well, right.
And
as I said to Charlie, like the whole storyline reason why he was a number was like he was this great, incredible sports recruit, right? Like he played football, but Brody wanted to build him down, like break him down so he could build him back up. Brody's not there to build him back up anymore. So there's no reason for him to be masked and have a
10 is probably the most like outside of the orbit of the Dark Order to me.
Yeah, because he's part of the vlog crew.
Yeah.
He dresses like Deathstroke now. He didn't realize it was Deathstroke,
he didn't realize
but he dresses like him.
But he does. Yeah, but he does. So that was great. I don't hope anything. I'm actually terrified for Orange Cassidy on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Oh, I cannot wait for that.
What do you think of Angry Murder Mox, Vishal?
This is the best Mox we've seen since maybe before he had the title. I would say this is the best Mox we've seen since his first match with Omega.
Yeah.
Just what the pandemic kind of forced him to go into a more traditional babyface role. He had to be the fighting champ. He had to be honorable. And even when he wasn't like against MJF, he was the good guy.
Yeah.
And I don't think Mox works there. I think that he is at his best when he is just an angry son of a bitch who does not care about anyone he's in the ring with. Like one of his earliest matches, his first and only loss until he faced Kenny in AEW was a tag match where he was teamed with Pac and got mad at him in the middle of the match, hit him with a paradigm shift, and walked out so Pac would get pinned.
Yeah. Yeah. That was good.
What I like seeing Mox do at the end of the day. And I'm very excited to see. So I knew it wasn't going to happen. I knew Kingston wasn't going to beat Danielson. But the idea of Mox fully turning heel by absolutely murdering Eddie Kingston speaks to me. Because
of course
as you know, I'm a DIY mark.
Yeah, of course it does.
And when they started, like the shoe was fully on the other foot, right? Yeah. Like Eddie was fully a heel. Yeah. Everyone kind of hated him.
Mox was trying to redeem Eddie as his friend for a while. Yeah. So yeah, it would work really well for me to see Eddie just not Mox kill Eddie because I'm a sadist, but just it would like, I don't know. I want to see Mox get booed because I want to see him get real boos, not the weird apathy he got when WWE last tried to turn.
Well, the murdering a fan favorite is up on top.
Yeah.
It is not just going to be a squash match. It will be a murder. There will be blood. There will be guts, baby guts. There will be something terrific that will happen.
There's probably some children for who Mox murdering Orange Cassidy will be their version of Austin turning heel, Charlie.
Oh, no. Rip those kids.
There will be children that will never forgive Mox. And I
can't wait to see that.
Yeah, I think that's great storytelling.
Yeah, I mean it's storytelling. Like, so I've always liked Mox. I mean it doesn't take much, but I really loved him in Kenny's Lights Out match. Like I really loved it. And I loved like you want unsanctioned, like that promo was super good before that match happened. So I'm really interested to see what Mox and Bryan Danielson looks like as opposed to Dean Ambrose versus Daniel Bryan.
Yeah,
like that juxtaposition. I'm interested to see what we've got going on there.
Yeah. So
before we talk about the 8-man, because I know that was y'all's match of the week. My match of the week was actually Matt Sydal versus Dante Martin 3.
Okay. Look at that.
Yeah. So Danielson versus Kingston also should mention that. Really good match.
Bring up
Did
the
not
promo.
have the highs of Suzuki versus Danielson for me personally, but damn good match.
I will say
bring up the promo that that Eddie and Danielson. God damn it! I've been
American Dragonson.
I loved Brian just being like, that was the Eddie I wanted to see. like, oh, I goaded you. And then Eddie being like, you goaded me? Like, you don't know a thing about me. I have to take Zoloft every day so I don't fucking murder a man. Like, don't talk to me about who I do and don't need to be. And like, that was so good.
Yeah.
Because that's like Eddie reaching down and like, again, all my friends were like, man, we love a mental health awareness, Eddie Kingston.
Yeah. I mean, I really did like Brian versus Eddie. I liked even more Eddie fucking coming after Punk after the match. Like, I'm excited to see where that goes.
Yeah, same.
Dante Martin and Lio Rush. This thing that's got this like very weird energy.
So weird.
It's
in the
weird.
best way.
Yeah, it's strange, but it's good. Yeah, I'm gonna always remember CM Punk calling Lio Rush Bitcoin Berry on commentary.
It's really good.
It's really funny, but no,
because
Dante's
it reminds
so good.
me so much of what Matt Hardy tried to do when he was calling himself Big Money Matt, but LBO Leo is so much better.
I think honestly, Lio Rush just has the right kind of charisma to make it work.
Yeah. Because
I know there's one thing that Sean Ross Sapp kept saying about Lio Rush, and especially about his exit from the WWE. Sean said something to the effect of, like, there are a lot of people that talk that kind of thing about themselves, talk themselves up. Like, the reason that I think the WWE exit made sense is because they were treating Leo a certain way, and Leo literally is that good. He could go into any profession that he wanted and really just capture it. Like, he's good at music, he's good at wrestling, he's good at talking. And like, when you are that good and you're as young as he is, like, there is a certain level of charisma that you just have. And Leo is smart too. So that's the reason he can make it work, right? Is because he has that level of, I know exactly what I'm about, self-confidence. And it's like a lot like the way like Will Smith was back when he was young, in a way.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air era Will Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And it just reminds me a lot of that.
And I
like
love
when he was in every blockbuster.
I honestly cannot wait for Dante's brother to come back to see what this.
I don't know
good.
how long Darius is going to be out. I hope he comes back in good shape.
I think he was backstage. He was backstage at All Out. That's good to hear. Their match, Matt Sydal and flips, but flips.
So many flips.
But flips that are hard hitting. Sometimes flips aren't so hard hitting.
That's what really got me about the match was, like, first of all, like, any good trilogy of matches has them learning from each other and like doing similar spots and then subverting them. And they did that throughout the entire match. But also just Dante Martin kept doing new things that I hadn't seen him do before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so we've talked about this. I really appreciate when a match where a wrestler has to go out of their general toolbox. It's why Danielson and Omega was okay for me, not like amazing, because it was both of them using their toolbox only. And Dante Martin is young enough where he does not have a toolbox. 90% of the things he does are brand new.
And he's so flexible.
I love it a lot.
I mean, that's why the Bucks were so. That's why the Bucks were so like, this is the best tag. Like when they were up and coming in the Indies, they were just doing things that nobody else did. Now we know it as the Young Bucks repertoire now. But
yeah, exactly. Now I can map everything they do to commands on a controller, essentially.
Yeah.
And I think wrestlers get like wrestlers can get like that.
Kenny Omega is very specifically
he's a Street Fighter character. He's a Street Fighter character. What do you want? But like I love that like Top Flight was like, yeah, the Bucks were our kind of inspiration because they take those same playbook. They take those pages of the playbook and say like, we're going to innovate. We're going to innovate. We're going to innovate. Yeah.
Like Dante Martin did like a reverse triangle moonsault but like added some other piece of it. Like he did some springy off the ropes that I can't even.
He's really good at springboards.
He called it the double springboard moonsault, where he just jumped from one rope to another rope and then did the moonsault.
Yeah, it was incredible. It like blew my mind. And that's the thing, like he always finds things to blow your mind, like no matter how many times you've seen him.
Every single match, it's something new.
Yeah, and I think why that worked really well in a storyline is he always does that. But this time it was like, okay, and I'm going to use that to get over he finally has like the aggressiveness because Leo is pushing him to overtake his mentor, because I think before he didn't really want to beat him, but now
he still looks sad and like he didn't want to beat up his friend.
Yeah, well, it's like a good version of Anakin Skywalker, right? Like a well done version of that, right? Where you take this prodigy and you just like twist him by degrees until he ends up becoming a person that he doesn't recognize anymore. And I think it's going to be really fun.
Yeah, I can't wait to see where they go.
I do want to say really quick, going back to the Brian and Eddie.
Well, you let me talk about the Ghostbusters in like a minute, please.
I just want to talk. I know it wasn't your favorite, Michelle, but I pop for the Kenta Kobashi chops every time Eddie does them. And that part specifically of the match was just so good. And seeing Brian get to wrestle like an All Japan style match was just really exciting. Like, and that was why he wanted to wrestle Eddie, right? But it was just so good.
Yeah.
All right.
Can we talk about the Ghostbusters? Thank you. Anyway, the main event for Dynamite this week was an 8-man tag between the Dark Order and the Elite, which we've seen several times, but it's never not good because they have incredible chemistry together in the ring. And it was Halloween themed. So the Dark Order, I thought, should have all been cowboys, but John Silver decided he wanted to wear a deer outfit.
Bambi.
He was Bambi.
Bambi, though.
Bambi specifically.
Very good.
And Stu Grayson came out as Kratos.
Which again, kind of looked silly because it was the day after Ciampa did it, so we were just like, "Oh, Stu, you scamp."
Well, because that's kind of where his gimmick in the indies and at the very beginning of Dynamite came from. They dropped the "was forged for combat" element of his gimmick very quickly because that did not fit into the Dark Order whatsoever.
Yeah, and Colt was dressed up as Brandon Cutler, which was very funny.
That was very good.
And
he was wearing Brandon Cutler's clothes, which we'll get to.
Yes. And they had a horse with them. Important.
They did have a horse.
They did have a horse with them.
It's a surprise tool we'll use later.
Yes. And the Elite came out dressed like the Ghostbusters with their special Ghostbusters Elite theme, which is very funny because my favorite part of it is the electronic drums and the track to mimic the Ghostbusters theme.
It was also done in a couple hours, which we'll get to later.
Yes. But Matt, Nick, Kenny, and Adam come out, who are the Elite now. Like, that is the final lineup of the Elite, which I'm more than thrilled about.
Good Brothers who?
I don't mind them. I don't mind the Good Brothers, but it
didn't feel right.
This has history that makes sense to me. Like, not that the Good Brothers didn't fit into it, but like it felt like part of the story that Kenny had plucked for a reason. And then it was like, once the Bucks were with them, it got a little muddled for me. Like, because if you're not using the Good Brothers to replace the Bucks, then yeah, we'll get there. But this feels very like final for me. They come out. Nick's got his gear under. He's the only one that's wearing his gear under the Ghostbusters jumpsuit. They all have proton packs. JR is very confused about this for some reason. He doesn't understand the concept of the Ghostbusters or how to have fun, apparently. And they are accompanied by Michael Nakazawa in a baby, inflatable baby costume.
It's a baby.
And the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Allegedly Brandon Cutler.
Allegedly Brandon Cutler, who I thought was Brandon for a while until I realized so much that it was not. Really, I mean, it was just fun. Like, it wasn't like supposed to be super serious. Like certainly at the beginning.
Kenny wrestled like for 10 minutes with the proton pack.
Yeah, Kenny wrestled the proton pack on, and he used it as a weapon. So, that's fine. They ended up using their tools that they brought to the ring, funnily enough. A couple of things I missed in the match because I was like enthralled by the fact that everyone was dressed up as in Halloween costumes was the story stuff that was happening with the Elite in the match. So there is a pretty obvious breakdown of some things going on there.
Adam Cole does not respect Kenny Omega at all. I'm here for it because I don't either.
Yeah,
big surprise that we've never seen
anything like that before. Yeah, the fact that they are like, the fact that they're like in dual positions, that it's funny because it makes total sense that this is how things would break down, but. The spot with Kenny not tagging in Adam but tagging in Matt, understandable. It's like a tit for tat these two go through all the time. But the spot that really stuck out to me was Kenny wanted to do the kiss with Matt and Nick. He wanted to do the spot. He wanted to do it with them. And Adam was like, no, you have business in the corner, and then did the spot. And Kenny turns around just to see that happen. And he looks sad. He doesn't look upset. He looks sad. And I think that's a wonderful story for Kenny because he's been a monster to his friends. Like, he's made them these things they are now. Like, he did that. Like, that's on him. So finally, in like 2 weeks time, when what he sacrificed was his friends for the belt he'll no longer have, what happens then? Like, and that's exciting to me. Like, that is a perfect, like, next thing for these guys to do without the belt. Like, they can get wrapped up in their own drama because they are always wrapped up in their own drama. And, I'm really excited to see where that goes because it looks like we're picking back up where 2017 left off. So I'm excited for those beats. But the important fun thing about this match was about like probably 10 minutes to the end or like 5 minutes to the end, I realized Hangman Adam Page was dressed up as the Safe of Marshmallow Man. The horse reemerges at the end of the match. And the Elite...
The horse and a few other members of Dark Order, to be clear.
Yes. And
the Elite beat them up and torment the horse.
Yes. And then they take off the horse head, and Matt thinks he's... It's important that Matt's in the ring when Hangman comes back, too, because that's story fodder as well. He takes off the horse head, and it is Brandon Cutler with his mouth duct taped shut. And
he starts, like, freaking out.
Yeah.
Brandon Cutler just he falls on the ground and starts crying at the end of it.
Yes. As he would say, he got wrestling kidnapped. And the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man is behind Matt, and Matt just mouths at the camera, but who's the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man? And then Hangman takes off the head of the costume
with the angriest face I've ever seen Hangman
he
have.
like fully...
Because it's Matt. And, like, sure, Kenny and Adam, like, their tag team breaking up was sad. But
Kenny dug the knife in a little bit last week.
He did.
Yeah.
It was cruel.
It was cruel, but I think the real sad thing, like if you really were following along, I think was like Matt and Adam have some real bad blood and have had it for a long time now.
Yeah, that was what kind of spurred on the Revolution match between the two teams in the first place. Was Matt specifically said you were a jobber in Ring of Honor when we picked you up.
Yeah,
we don't need you.
Yeah, and like a real genuine friendship for a while, because they did have like a pretty good friendship, it seemed like, that just turned absolutely sour.
Yeah. So
because the Young Bucks are good Christian boys and Hangman Adam Page likes to drink.
Yeah. And a lot of that I think is the story they've been telling since the beginning of Dynamite, or the beginning of AEW, which is like, how do you be the guys everybody loves when you have responsibilities? Like, how do you show that you're having a hard time, like, adapting to this role you're supposed to have? Like, be these baby faces, be these, like, EVPs. Like, how do you do that and have these things that you, like, have this anxiety, like, have this fear of letting everybody down? How do you deal with that? But you're supposed to be the guys in charge, which is the story they've been telling. And that's kind of like, that's degraded, like, since the beginning to the point we are at now.
Sometimes you lash out at your friends.
Sometimes you lash out at your friends, and sometimes you get
ruin things.
And sometimes you get really mad that the guy that says he has to take a break because he's got anxiety problems, and he's actually expressing how anxious he feels about everything and being a failure. He can express those things and take a break and walk away, and you can't. And sometimes that makes you angry, and that makes you lash out. And it's exactly what happened with Matt. He was mad that Hangman got to do all this to kind of just say, hey, I'm having a hard time, when Matt couldn't say the same thing because he was in a position of power.
Or felt like he couldn't.
And this is where we're at. So, Hangman attacks Matt, and it's cathartic for everyone who wants to see the Elite get beat up. And
Hello.
I love a good comeuppance as well. And I think these boys need a little bit of a taste of their own medicine. But I always just circle back to, like, how sad the three of them just are to have gotten to this point.
Yeah, but at the same point, like, in a story perspective, Hangman tried to be the bigger man, and then the Elite refused to. So what, like, that would make me really angry if I tried to be the bigger person and then people basically spat on me.
So, not unrelated because it is related, but what I will say is completely off brand for me, which is I kind of hope they bring up the fact that Hangman specifically fucked over Kenny.
Mm-hmm.
It's so specific because I saw someone mention this and it, like, clicked for me, is that during the FTR, when Hangman was friends with FTR and that whole thing was going on, there was a point where Kenny was like, you know what, like, you're my tag team partner. I don't want to, like, destroy what we've got going. We're doing good work together. I'm going to try and be friends with your friends. And he goes and he, like, actually offers to have a drink with FTR, which for Kenny is a huge deal because dude doesn't drink.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And he's like, I'll have my first drink for you guys because I like Hangman that much. Mm-hmm. And FTR just kind of make fun of him, and Hangman doesn't do shit.
Yep. Hangman, he laughed about it. He didn't just not do anything. He laughed about it. When I say the summer of 2020 was when this entire thing crystallized, that was the point where I was like, man, everybody's got, like, something shitty they did to somebody to cause all of this to happen. It wasn't Hangman's, like, the great guy who's been gaslighted and upset by his friends, and now they're not his friends. He did this, and then when he wanted to apologize for it, it was too late. It was too late. Like, Kenny was all in on this tag team for a long, long time.
Yeah,
and Hangman never got on board.
Last week, he said he was the one who dragged everything, like, who kept everything alive. And that's very true. For a very long time, Hangman kept being like, oh, we shouldn't be a tag team. Oh, we should split up, whatever. This isn't working out. And Kenny kept it going. And then eventually Hangman got into it by being shitty to Kenny's best friends.
Yeah. Yeah. It almost, in a way, like, not right now, obviously, but at least for that portion of it, now that I'm thinking about it that way, it feels almost like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where it's like, all of those people are really terrible people, but they still do things to hurt each other, and they do things to support each other. And, like, that's the drama, is, like, even terrible people can do good and bad things.
Yeah.
And I think it's not as cut and dried as Twitter makes it seem.
Yeah.
But again, people just say shit on the internet, like we said last week.
I just be saying stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, that's the thing. Like, you can do, people that aren't the best people can do good things, and they can do bad things. And then they can also come back and apologize, and then have that apology get spit on, and like that's not necessarily good or bad. It just keeps the story going.
I think there's like the rays of like sunshine for me are Kenny will never be a different character than he ever has been until he takes ownership of the stuff he does, because he's never done that. Like he's never said I'm sorry like to anybody. Like if he's saying I'm sorry, it's because somebody's like handing it to him. Like I remember like deep in the throes of like the Golden Lovers, this is Young Bucks stuff, and like Matt's like you're upset? No, I'm upset. And he wants Kenny to say like I'm sorry for like basically choosing Coda over you guys when we've been here this whole time by your side. And Kenny's just like, oh, I'm sorry, like, but he's saying it because Matt wants him to. He's not saying it because he actually is. But like seeing like Kenny actually be sad like about what he's done gives me hope that like the character change I want to see in Kenny, like the actual arc of his character, is coming. So I'm super happy with the way things I think are gonna be shaping up here once Kenny loses the belt. And I don't know what's on the horizon for Hangman, but it can only probably be good things. So I'm excited. I'm just excited to close kind of this chapter and then open another one. So Full Gear should be really good. We're on our way there. Yeah, we're on our way there.
Full Gear is 2 weeks away. Very excited.
Yeah. So, I mean, is Kenny the longest reigning AEW champion at this point?
He will be, I think, by Full Gear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, no, he has to be. He already beat Mox's. Yeah, he's the longest reigning.
Okay.
Because there's only been 3. I was like, was there someone longer than Mox? No.
Longest reigning AEW champion, Kenny Omega.
So I won't spoil too much, but so I said earlier
there was a change in plan
that the Ghostbusters theme was made in about a 2-hour window from when Mikey Ruckus, AEW's just all around music guy, I don't know what his official job title is, when he was told that he had to make it to when he finished it. That was because they were originally going to do a Squid Game inspired entrance, and Warner Media caught wind of it and said absolutely not. For what reasons we do not know, but there are several reasons that jump to mind immediately if you know anything about Squid Game.
Yeah, there's those. I think there is potentially a rights thing because I think Warner Media does have Ghostbusters. But even aside from that, the contents of Squid Game are maybe not the things that a multi-billion-dollar corporation would want to promote.
And if it's not on a PG product, and if it's not the contents, then perhaps they don't want to be promoting their rival streaming giants smash hit. Like there's several layers here, right?
Yes.
However, today is Halloween, and they worked like all Saturday, basically, like Friday and Saturday, to put together a the Elite did, as well as several other AEW superstars.
Don't call them superstars, call them wrestlers.
Only I can call them superstars.
Okay, Lulu Pencil can be a superstar because she is incredible and does way more than just wrestle. But anyway, so they worked to put together a Halloween special, and I'm not gonna spoil it.
It's really good.
It's really good. Even if you don't know anything about Squid Game, I think it's good just by itself.
It's really good.
It's really well done. Lulu Pencil's in it. Michael Nakazawa, Private Party are in it. I will spoil that because Private Party they haven't gotten to do anything since becoming part of the HFO for so long.
The HFO it looks like it's on its last legs. It looks like we're finally gonna be done with it.
Because there's just been nothing about it during programming. Which is for the best, don't get me wrong, but
they shaved Jack Evans' head and dissolved
the HFO as if his hair was the only thing keeping it together.
Yeah. There's been nothing since then. So I was really glad to see Private Party in sketch comedy again and like get to see them as part of a story thing because they are so good. They just got sucked into the black hole that is the Hardy Family Office. So
if you've got 20 minutes and you want to see the Elite being funny and other people being funny, and there's a little story biddles sprinkled in here at the end for some stuff that's going on with the Elite.
And with Private Party.
And if you have never seen a BTE Halloween special, they are very, very funny. If you go back to 2018, they filmed a Halloween special called Opposite Day, which is They Live. Yeah. It's them all telling like scary stories, like, and they do like a skit for everybody's like story. And it's like this kind of like overarching thing that ends in a twist. Or Kenny used to play a mad scientist. It's really good. Like if you like that kind of thing, I had a blast with it. So I would recommend just watching it. I'm glad they got to use their costumes they were going to use.
And the theme.
Because
Mikey Ruckus had the whole theme in the bag and he put it on Twitter and immediately deleted it. So
yeah, the Forbidden Squid Game.
But, nobody can stop. Like what's Warner Media does not own their YouTube, so they can do whatever the hell they want. So.
Yeah. Yeah, so go if you got a second, go take a look. It's
watch the weird short film that
they made because they love to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's really good. Though.
It's fun. Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, so before we close off, we got a bunch of questions because I put out a poll to our friends. And they responded with a lot.
Of course they did.
Yeah. So first question is, I'd like to know what are your predictions for Full Gear, unless we're doing that in a later episode. And I'll just say we'll probably do that next week.
Yeah.
Because we want to know the full card for Full Gear before we make any predictions. But I'm curious what the potential Cody / House of Black / Pac match is going to be. Because on Tony Khan's little sheet, he mentioned Cody versus Andrade or Malachi or Pac. And
are they gonna have like
all of those are still an option?
Are we gonna get a custody of Cody Rhodes match between those three men?
Maybe.
Well, I'm excited for the upcoming custody of the Young Bucks ladder match between Adam Cole and Kenny Omega in about 6 months.
Yeah, let's say that happens at Revolution.
Yeah. Oh, good. Oh, good. The Revolution, the show that I'm having friends from out of the country come to see. Yeah, just put my heart in a blender and everybody. Okay, yeah, we're doing there.
Next, why does Eddie Kingston rule so much? And Mikey mentioned the promo earlier, and it's because he literally has to take Zoloft or he'll kill someone.
Yeah. Another addendum: Eddie Kingston doesn't know that wrestling's fake.
Yeah, nobody ever told him.
Nobody told Eddie Kingston that wrestling wasn't real.
I feel like someone maybe told him that, and he just chopped them over and over again.
Yes.
Next, what product does Hook use for his hair? Hair product. I don't use hair product.
It's probably, judging by the comments that have been made by the rest of the roster, it's probably something from Costco.
Yeah. It's like a Costco,
like Garnier
Men's
from Costco.
Yeah. He looks like he could be putting like some sort of like volumizing mousse in his hair after he's done.
I don't want to think about it being American Crew though.
But he's got some volume going on. So kudos to him because I can't get that sometimes. So we'll
put your phone on the floor.
Go with that. Yeah,
please.
Yeah, phones on the floor. Yep.
What are the best Halloween themed wrestling stuff? That one Rey Mysterio Eddie Guerrero match.
Yeah, that Halloween Havoc match was really good.
I haven't seen that.
If you've never seen
last year's NXT Halloween Havoc was really fun.
Yep. I really appreciated I can't not mention it because it laid the groundwork for story for like the last year or so. Kenny's Undertale entrance. Kenny's Undertale video.
The Undertale thing.
From 2019. If you've never seen that Undertale video, it's really good. It's really, really good.
It's quite good.
Yeah.
And that's me saying that.
Yeah, and also if you want to just see something very silly, the Ghostbusters thing was kind of a callback this year to their previous Ghostbusters stuff they did in NJPW. And also there's an NJPW tag match on Halloween where Kenny dressed up as Princess Jasmine, and the rest of the Elite dressed up as Aladdin characters. Kenny's got the good falsy game on that one. He's got his eyelashes going, so it's really fun if you want to go watch it.
All right. Next question. What is the best possible Goldberg match that can be had in 2021? Fantasy book a Goldberg match. And honestly, personally, I think it was the match he just had at Crown Jewel.
Yeah, I was going to
Bobby
say,
Lashley.
I can't think of a better match.
I've got one.
Ooh.
A handicap match between Goldberg, Happy Corbin, and Madcap Moss, and just have Goldberg destroy the both of them.
I'm into this as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you use him for squashes of people who we want to see squash.
Yeah, exactly. Like if it's not like, I think what they did with him at Crown Jewel was actually probably, like you said, like probably one of the best uses of Goldberg. But I think the other notable thing was informed my choice just now was when he squashed Dolph. Like
I remember that was one of the first pay-per-views I watched. Yep.
So just have him kill people I don't like.
Can he come face Cody Rhodes?
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, Goldberg versus Cody Rhodes.
Determinedly face Cody Rhodes. Yeah. I would book that in a heartbeat, actually.
There you go.
And I don't like Goldberg.
And yeah, Sunberg would get involved in that somehow. I don't know how.
It was a misunderstanding.
He'd fight someone and then he'd fight Brock Anderson. That's what it is.
Yeah. Arn would try and choke out.
God.
Wow.
Next. What made you laugh this week? Me, personally, it was probably the Johnny Gargano segments of Halloween Havoc. Delightful stuff.
The thing I can't stop laughing about because I'm me is there's a part is a callback to something else, but in 2019's Halloween episode of BTE, there was a Black Mirror parody where Kenny made a VR device that he gave to Matt so they could VR Street Fighters, and Matt was Matt, and Kenny was Nick. And in it, they do this like incredible sequence of events, and then Kenny just says, "I really hope this doesn't complicate things," and he just goes to kiss Matt, like Kenny as Nick kissing Matt. And this week on BTE, it was Matt was like, "Yeah, we're not gonna do. I hate Halloween now. We're not gonna do any more Halloween stuff. No more Black Mirror bits about incest." And Kenny's like, "Whoa. Where's the fun police?" Like he was just like very, very insistent that this one was too far. It makes me laugh. I have a weird sense of humor. It just made me laugh a whole lot today, and that's probably the thing that made me laugh the most.
I did laugh a lot during that 8-man. It was just absolutely joyous. DDT also did their annual, I think, tournament at the Tokyo Dome where they just kind of wrestle in the baseball fields. And somebody brought a kendo stick up to bat, and then somebody else brought a baseball bat covered in Lego bricks.
Oh no.
And there were some really good gifts. I think TDE Gifts has a lot of good gifts coming out. If for whatever reason you haven't followed my advice and subscribed to Wrestle Universe, it's just a lot of fun. Maki Ito got her head put through a bin, like a plastic bin, and she's just like doing, flipping the camera, the bird. It's just fun. So good stuff coming out of there.
Next question. Who gets the first win over Punk? This one's tough. I feel like it has to be a younger person.
Yeah.
He's going to want to give someone the rub, and I don't see any benefit to having it be like Kenny Omega or even Hangman.
No, it's definitely a younger person.
MJF.
I could see it being MJF. I think that. So he mentioned earlier that having MJF interrupt his entrance was the low-hanging fruit, and I think having MJF be his first loss is also kind of low-hanging fruit, but it's the kind of fruit that I think works to elevate both of them.
If I had to hope,
MJF can win shittily, and it won't make.
That's true. If I had to hope, it would be Daniel Garcia. That would be my hope against hope.
I'd love to see that, but I don't know if Punk does a rematch against anyone for a while.
I could actually see Eddie being the first person to give Punk a loss.
Ooh.
I could see that too, but I think Eddie's still on this tour of losing the big ones.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna see him lose a little bit more.
Yeah, I think if it's not MJF, I think any one of those options you guys gave was good. I think anything that opens Punk up to like a bigger feud is fine with me.
Mhm.
As long as it's not like as long as it's not Kenny, it doesn't need to be Kenny.
Oh god, I just had a really like fun thought. If Leo Rush works
I was actually just thinking about that. Yeah.
Dante up and this like horror, like this deeply like self-hating like Red Hood-esque monster version of Dante Martin goes up against Punk, that could be really interesting.
Yeah. I think it has to be someone young. I think it has to be like
And Punk
someone
would want
who
it that
has
way.
not won a title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they have so many guys that, you know, are stars in their own right that have had the chance to have matches like that. You know, Punk's not in it to just, he's not like, Brian is completely valid in what he wants to do. I understand he was held back for a long time. I do not begrudge him just wanting to wrestle all the guys he's always wanted to wrestle. Punk is not here for that. He's here to give the rub to the next generation of people.
Yeah. Next question. Pick only 3 current WWE stars to go to AEW. I mean, you know my 3. It's Finn Balor, it's Johnny Gargano, it's Tommaso Ciampa. That's easy. I'm more interested in y'all's.
This one's tough. Like people that I think could flourish versus people that I think could go, like would go or
I
could
think
go.
Could flourish, not the ones who'd go. Assume that if you pick them, they go.
Kevin Owens, Raquel Gonzalez, and Bianca Belair.
Okay. I like it.
The New Day.
Just off the top of my head.
Just the New Day.
Yeah,
I also
that's
like
good.
that.
I want to see.
I know that's why the question was only 3, because if we pick the New Day, we don't get to pick anyone else.
Yeah, the New Day. I want to see the Elite versus the New Day real bad.
Like in a ring.
In a ring, yeah.
Also, thinking about it more, I think I would swap out Tommaso Ciampa, who I think is having a very good time over at NXT, with AJ Styles, who I still want to see finally have that blow off with Kenny.
Damn, Michelle, that's also true.
Like an all-out Bryan Danielson versus AJ Styles match. That could be fun.
Oh no!
I want it to be Finn Balor, Johnny Gargano, and AJ Styles. That's my 3.
I love how the one thing that Michelle and I are like concrete, like pinky swear on, like Predator handshake is on, is like liking AJ Styles the wrestler.
He's real good.
He's good.
You know what? I changed my mind. As much as I like Raquel, I think Bianca, Kevin, and Io Shirai.
I'd love to see Shirai anywhere but WWE.
Yeah.
Like we need a high flying woman. Like that's one thing AEW, because Riho, I love seeing her moves, but she doesn't have because she's just like a bird. Like she doesn't have any physical weight.
Sub 100 pounds.
Yeah. Like Io Shirai can do some of those moves, but hit so hard. Because even you know, you think about the other Joshi that have come through, like Maki Ito isn't really what I would call, like, she's not a high flyer.
Ryo Mizunami is not at all a high
she's
flyer.
A brawler. And Emi Sakura and Lulu Pencil are both fairly grounded. So I really want to see someone that could do some incredible stuff. Because...
And what I will mention to that is just, I've felt that the biggest weakness of most of the women on AEW's roster is that they're not able to sell any offense because they're all quite small.
Yeah.
And Bianca Belair would, like, that's what Jade does best too. She just kind of makes everything she does look huge.
Yeah.
So, and the last question is, pick 2 AEW stars to go to WWE, but not Hager, Jericho, or MJF.
Wow, some restrictions.
Because Hager and Jericho are the easy ones. I mean, my first choice is Matt Hardy, because I don't see him with a place at AEW. And my second choice is Brian Cage.
Yeah, I was going to say Brian Cage.
Yeah.
I think he fits WWE's mold. And I don't know. He doesn't have a place at AEW. Matt Hardy doesn't have a place at AEW.
Yeah, people
They've
did.
done what they can, and I'm not expecting either of them to resign.
Like there are a lot of scenarios in which I would have said insert person here because I would want to see the matches they could have. But now, when you stick somebody said into the into the WWE machine, you just kind of know what you're gonna get, like, which isn't anything you really want. So
yeah.
Let's see here.
Okay, and what I will say is because I feel like those are still easy mode answers and against the spirit of not Jericho or Hager.
Yeah.
I'm gonna challenge myself with this one too. Think about it for a bit.
If we live in an ideal world where you're not putting someone into the WWE machine and knowing what you're gonna get out the other side is like the ground up thing you don't want. I'd be hard pressed to say that once I just wanted to see Kenny Omega's WrestleMania entrance once. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say Kenneth, which means terribly tearing him away from Matt and Nick.
If WWE did like a one night only, I guess that's not really
Kenneth and
no, yeah, it's to go. They're gonna be gone for a 3-year contract.
Oh no, I've broken my boys. Kenneth and Britt.
I'm into both of those, and I think it's very funny that they're both the top champions of the company.
Yes.
Yeah. If we're going...
This is an ideal world. This is where things happen in WWE that don't happen right now.
This is where their continuity from AEW is not ignored, but mostly sanded off. But they are able to wrestle.
Yes.
Yeah. I will go out on a limb and not go with the easy mode answers and say I had someone. Okay. I will say Wardlow and Lee Johnson.
Okay.
Like, assuming this is gonna be like you're gonna be our next superstar, and they'll actually push Lee.
Yeah.
Because
well, this is where I'm hanging my hopes on WWE champion Kenny Omega. Okay, listen, not 24/7 guy Kenny Omega.
Yeah. But like I say Wardlow because like as much as I love him in AEW and I'm glad he's there, I think he would do well in the WWE system, like regardless.
Yeah.
He would be like AJ Styles' tag partner or something, but I think he would be there because he's like a big dude that can wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right.
And that
would free Lee from the Nightmare family.
You know what? And this is gonna be a little cruel to both of the people I'm gonna mention, but honestly, Cody and Dustin Rhodes.
Yeah.
And I don't even mean this because I dislike Cody. Just I am so interested in what they could bring to a company that they both left because they were being treated horribly.
Mm-hmm.
Under the assumption that, again, if they're going to continue to be treated like shit, I don't want that, obviously. But I think WWE is more of their place than AEW. I think when Cody's entrance is wrestling has more than one royal family, like AEW doesn't feel like the place for that kind of dynasty.
Yeah.
And there's a reason he stands out from everyone else there. And I think bringing the Rhodes back to WWE could be something.
Yeah. At the same time, like I totally think that's a valid pick. I would send Cody, but like if we're
Cody, don't take Justin.
Yeah, if we're like playing fantasy football, right? Or Journey of Pro Wrestling, I would send Cody 100%. I would not agree to send Dustin just because like my big fear, again, you would like, we're assuming good faith here, but I don't know that WWE gets Dustin back and doesn't force him to be Goldust again.
That's fair. Yeah.
Like just knowing how much they love to grind every little shred that they can out of Attitude Era.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure they would make Cody Stardust again.
Probably.
Just get that out of the way.
Who doesn't? I mean,
Or they put that horrible mustache back on him.
I mean,
Oh my God.
the entire lead up to the whole lead up to like the 2018 Halloween episode of BTE also included Cody being infected by the WWE mark. So he they sent him he had his old gold dust Stardust costume in a backpack, and he took it out, and the note attached to it said, "I hope this still fits, HH."
Yeah, it's like, and I think I hate to harp on Cody Rhodes of all people or like that topic, but it's like part of the reason I'm so frustrated by Cody is I know he can do things.
Yeah.
He's just like somehow seems like he feels like he's outgrown.
Yeah, I can't tell
Doing
if he's up
things?
his own ass or listening to the wrong people.
Yeah. I forgot just how unhinged he was in the feud with Kenneth. Like kissing Coda, kissing Kenny, doing a whole bunch of manipulation, like just going like all out.
Manipulating the Bucks. He turned the Bucks against Kenny.
Yeah.
Which is a feat.
Making them think that they could be singles wrestlers.
Like looking at them, slapping both their chests and going, "You're seconding him. You're seconding him. You're the Young Bucks. Who the fuck are you seconding for? No one."
Yeah. You're the best tag team in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I don't know why Cody maybe looks down on that. Like I don't know who got in his ear about it, but it seems like someone did.
I don't know. But this is the same Cody Rhodes that thinks doing a focus group means texting a bunch of old WWE wrestlers and asking what they think of the promo. So, like, that's the thing. It's just, like, truly inexplicable how he's changed, but he's, like, the one person in AEW that, since being here, has changed for the worse.
Yeah.
In all aspects, and it's just, like,
not a kayfabe way.
Yeah.
It seems.
Yeah.
Again, it's very hard to separate that line. I don't want to cast aspersions, but it's just like
there's a reason the guys don't talk the way they used to.
Yeah. It's a lot. But
yep.
I think we have had a lot to say. It's been 2.5 hours.
Yeah, this was a long episode.
Yeah. It's okay. We have a lot to say a lot of the time. But I mean, I just think that's attributed to interesting stuff happening on both products. Well, both products.
Discussion worthy stuff happening on both products.
Yes. And we had a lot of
I will say, I really do think that the hardest time story-wise for AEW usually seems to be the kind of gap between All Out and Full Gear story-wise. Because the pay-per-views are so short. That's like the shortest window between pay-per-views.
Yeah.
I think they've done a good job this year. Like, it doesn't feel meandering. It feels very focused. So good job, guys. Keep it up.
I wouldn't be against them pushing Full Gear a little later in the month.
Maybe like a December. Maybe
a December, maybe even a Thanksgiving Saturday pay-per-view. I don't know.
They could be fun. Why not? If Thanksgiving's a Thursday, it's never going to interrupt the holiday. So go for it. All right. Well, we said a lot. We'll have Full Gear predictions next week. I can't believe Full Gear's next week. I'm going to say this, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm so sorry, Kenny. I think you're losing the championship. I will eat my words if he does not lose.
I'm going to say it again. If Kenny doesn't lose at Full Gear, I'm not going to be like, oh, this story sucks, but I'm going to be like 10% less interested in it than I was before.
Yeah, especially because of the other, like what's happening afterward story seeds we got planted this week. Like if like that, I think that pushed it for me more than anything else that Hangman's winning the belt. Other than like he seems ready now. So
like I was not there with it, and then he gave a couple promos, and I was completely like, okay.
Last question for you two, or for Charlie specifically, because I know you have thoughts on this. Before we sign off, do you think the Bucks are seconding Kenny when he loses?
No.
And hey, I remember the thing I just said. That could be the thing to tear.
Do you think Adam is the reason why? Adam Cole.
I think Kenny's the reason why. Like, it's not. I'll be very transparent here. Adam's being Adam. Adam doesn't know how to be anybody other than Adam Cole. Adam comes back into the fold unchanged. Adam Cole, like, and don't get me wrong, he's been shaped by his time in other places, but mentality-wise, Adam Cole is Adam Cole. He does not have the baggage the three of them have. He does not have the trauma from starting this company and being so afraid of failing that it's changed them for the worse. Like, he does not have that. So it's not Adam's fault that everything happened. It's Kenny's fault for manipulating his friends into becoming these people that they are now, because it was a complete grab for I have to keep. Remember, the Collector collected belts, but he also collected people. Yeah. He needed to have like the things that make the cleaner, who's not ever really been the cleaner himself.
Well,
he needed to have all the items. He needed to have them all.
Gaslighting them, like taking the Bucks and like gaslighting them and then love bombing them.
Yeah.
Like very
I cannot in enough ways tell you how abusive that behavior was.
Yeah.
Like,
and then Adam Cole comes in and he's just loves the Bucks.
He's just the guy. Like, I love you guys. Like, you're my best friends. Like, why would I ever do anything? Like, they haven't had that journey with Adam. Like, it's easy. It's easy to be Adam's friend because he's their friend back. Everything with Kenny, it's 10,000 times more complicated. And if we can choose the easy thing over the hard thing, maybe it's Matt and Nick's turn to be,
yeah,
what have you done for me lately?
And it does have shades of like, you know, Cody Rhodes manipulated them, but that's because Kenny was busy. So it's like it's kind of those same notes, but like the opposite way, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I think it will definitely, I would be shocked if there aren't concrete changes in the super elite, as we're calling them, relationships with each other.
Yeah. And I don't think that it will be, a lot of people are going to tell you that they want to see the Bucks slash out at Kenny. Like, they want the Bucks to turn on Kenny the way that Kenny had them turn on Adam. I don't think we need that. And I think they know that as someone who's like a really big fan of the Elite as a thing, I think they understand that like us really dedicated fans don't really like to see them like fight. I'm going to be very honest and tell you that like the hardest part of the story for me, like so far, was when Kenny was like being openly cruel to them. Like that, on more than one occasion, that made me like, I don't know if I'm enjoying this story. I know it's supposed to be this way and make me feel really bad, but like it makes me feel really bad. Like just as like somebody who cares about this relationship a lot. So that was really difficult for me. And I don't want to see that again. Like, I don't want to see that rift again. I think there are ways to go about this little clash we're going through and what we need to do without them being like openly cruel. I think it's going to be a very big reality check for Kenny when he like sacrificed his friendship and the genuine love he had for them on a pyre for this belt, and he don't have it no more. So that's my 2 cents. I could talk about this for a long time, but they won't come down to the ring with him. That's been really absent since as long as I can remember.
Yeah, for a while.
That's the real Kenny Omega that has the Bucks come out with him.
Yeah, seeing the rise of the Terminator with Bryan and no Young Bucks to do it was rough because it's always the Bucks that encourage the chant.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You know, but for story reasons, they weren't there.
Yeah. But In any case, this has been the episode this week. If you like what we do here, you can follow us on Comics X Fight on Twitter and on YouTube. We are Comics X Fight. Please like and subscribe to the channel and hit the thumbs up button that lets other people know that you're watching, and we'll recommend the video to them. We got recommended our own video on our personal YouTube channels, YouTube accounts, so that's been nice. We'll be back next week with some Full Gear thoughts, and for whatever else happens, I hope it's nothing related to people losing their jobs. Maybe Bray Wyatt will pop up and we can talk about that. I have my own suspicions about what that might be or where that we might be going with that, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
I do want to say, because we keep forgetting to actually say it, if you really, really like what we do, if you want to support the amazing journalism that our friends at Comics XF and everyone does, please consider checking out our Patreon. The links are down below. That money gets distributed out through everyone that writes for Comics XF, not just Comics X Fight, and helps us all. So please do consider doing that, or, sharing with your friends.
Yeah, we'll be working on a long-term Twitch channel, like very bespoke Twitch channel getting up. I've got some ideas about things there, so be on the lookout for that. If you like what I have to say about things, and you maybe like thoughts about the Elite or anything like that,
or Charlie's makeup,
or my makeup, or I'll be writing a couple of things leading up here to Full Gear for some different outlets. Be on the lookout for more Elite content, because that's all I'm good at these days. If you like any of that, you can follow me at Genetic Ghost on Twitter. That's where all of my thoughts are at.
And you can find me at Quantum on Twitter. Some people forget that we wrote that Charlie and I did a cookbook. That's up there on my website at quantum.space. On my Twitter, I will hopefully be sharing some of the art I've been doing in the background, different little graphic design things for various Twitch channels. So yeah.
Yeah, if you want to catch my thoughts on video games mostly, you can follow me at Vigola87.
Vishal, did you want to tell them about your Polygon article?
Yeah, I wrote a listicle for Polygon about every single Easter egg in Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy video game that I could find. There were 50-something of them, and some of them were really cool.
Yeah. Go check that out. It's a really good time. I will plug our friends over at Gatecrashers / Ring Crashers. They do roundups of the week AEW Dark and AEW Dynamite weekly, so go check them out.
They're also doing a really cool series on the history of the Dark Order right now.
Yep.
Barrett's working on that, doing great work. So.
Yeah, so it's good stuff all around. There's a lot of don't let anybody tell you any different, but wrestling's probably as good as it's been since I've been watching it.
All those links will be down below.
Yeah. Other than that, everybody have a wonderful, spooky week of November.
Lots of good discount chocolate.
Yeah.
Or, whatever your candy of choice is.
Yeah. So other than that, goodbye, good night, all of that. Bye.
Bye.